Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful, 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
So I'm glad that Connor O'Gara said it out loud on Twitter. He says something that needs to be said. It's Connor Wigman, pronounced Wigman, not Wegman. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It got me thinking, Opie. Not that we're going to spend a lot of time on here because I know there will be a whole post about it on the boards, but there's other names that I want people to know. It's not Nick Scourton. Scourton.
Like when he sacks somebody and the ball comes loose and someone picks it up and runs in for a touchdown, he's going to score.
Ton.
Hopefully they'll score a ton.
A ton
of scoring.
Have you been working on that one, or is that just
organic? It's just organic.
It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Football. You wrote a column.
I did.
Is column the right way to phrase it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a column.
5 legitimate reasons to expect Texas A&M to win its August 31st opener.
Why I'm picking them.
You're already there. You're not waiting. I don't even need to do pick 6 with you. I know what you're going to yeah.
Because I was talking about here. These are the glasses I was wearing when I was writing the column. The readers. They're black. 175.
Like the jersey.
Yeah, I was looking for some more that you can get at Maroon U. They're black. There's no maroon tint on them at all. So it was an objective thoughts. And I came up with 5. That could have come up with more.
Okay.
But I came up with 5 reasons that I feel good about.
The first one you said, okay, Kyle Field.
Kyle Field.
I like it, but I felt like the other day when I mentioned it, you weren't on board. So
yeah, but I wasn't saying it because nowhere in there did I say it was because the atmosphere was going to intimidate Notre Dame.
It's not that.
I'm saying Notre Dame, based on, and we say last year was last year, I get it. But it's both of these teams have a lot of players back from last year, and last year Notre Dame was not a particularly good road team.
Right. Neither were.
They were 3-2 on the road. 2 wins were over terrible teams, Pitt and Stanford. Stanford lost at home to Sacramento State.
Right.
And they escaped on the road at Duke and then lost twice on the road. So they're not particularly great road team. It's going to be hot, which was number 2. But even though that's not the
plays
main
into
thing.
it though.
But and then A&M has been a good home team. They were 6-1, I think it was, or 5-1 or 6-1.
6-1. Yeah.
Yes, last year at home.
They lost to Bama, a game they should have won.
Or at least very well could have if they could pick up a yard. So those were some. To me, that was a legitimate reason.
So Kyle Field, because the Ags are good at home. Notre Dame struggled against good teams on the road. Weather. It's going to be hot.
Yeah, it's going to be hot. But you know what? It's not supposed to be. It's not going to be rainy either. I was trying to look at the forecast. It was a little bit far out, but there's no signs of rain.
Okay.
And if you'll look at Connor Wigman, whenever he has struggled, and I'm not saying it was his fault, but it's been in the rain or in the frigid weather. Like it was really cold up in Auburn a couple of years ago when they had a bag. Now, a bigger part was A-Chain was out and some other receivers were out. And then, that was the whole sleeve thing. And he just was working with a skeleton crew of offense. And it didn't go well for anybody. Right. He still threw a touchdown pass late that got him.
That's right.
Gave him a chance to win. But the UMass game, remember what a miserable
day,
cold, wet day. And then at Miami, he actually had a good day statistically, but he had his only 2 interceptions. And, of course, neither was his fault, but it was the first one was absolutely a byproduct of the weather. He plays well when when weather's not a factor.
Yep. Then Connor Wegman is 3. Number 4 is one that we've been talking about all offseason long.
That pass rush against a Notre Dame offensive line that has a lot of questions. And I was looking at last year, Notre Dame, I want to say in the games they lost, like Louisville had like 5 sacks.
Yep.
And it wasn't USC, but it was another game. Clemson had 2 sacks. So, and then when the game they almost lost to Duke, the quarterback was sacked twice. So, and none of those had the pass rush that A&M had last year. And A&M's pass rush this year very well could be and probably should be better than it was last year.
100%. A&M ranked 14th in the nation in rush defense last year.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit yesterday about it. Could be 2 things. They weren't great at stopping the run, and also...
You mean stopping the pass?
Stopping the pass, excuse me, yeah. And which is why teams decided, you know what, I don't need to run on you.
Yeah, but and that is a factor, but they did try to run, and only one team ran with some success. That was Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And part of that, and now this raises up a red flag, but part of that was because you remember who got hurt just at the end of the first half in that game.
Walter got hurt in the third quarter, right? And
Edgerrin Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So then they were without their starting and best linebacker. So you could say, well, they won't have him this year either. And that is a concern. But
they didn't have Scooby. They didn't have.
Right. And now Torian's a sophomore. So, right. So all those things. So, and when Notre Dame rushed for at least 155 yards last year, they were they won 7 of their 9 games rushing for 155 yards or more. One team had more than 155 yards against A&M.
Who was that?
And that was Tennessee. And you almost won that game anyway. You could have won if you
could just get
quarterback sneak,
something, right? And didn't I'm trying to remember, my memory's a little hazy. They had a couple opportunities in the fourth quarter where you thought the game was over, and they still got the ball again, and they had a chance.
Yeah, like Josh DeBerry had a big interception in the end zone when it looked like
they had a chance.
Yeah, it kept them in the game. They had a chance up until I think Max threw an interception like in the last minute or 2.
Yep.
So I just think the A&M pass rush, the A&M run defense, the fact that Notre Dame relies heavily last year, interceptions were such a big factor in their big wins. They only beat 3 teams with winning records last year. And they had 4 interceptions, 3, I guess, against USC, 3 against, I think, North Carolina State, and then 2 in their other big win. I'm trying to remember who that was. But anyway, Connor doesn't throw interceptions unless the weather has been bad. At least that's been his MO.
I think yesterday on the show I said Connor has gone for 19-2 in his career. I was wrong. It's 18-2. But 16 of those touchdown passes, 2 of those rushing touchdowns. His accuracy, his numbers, again, in an offense that struggled to protect him, in an offense that really wasn't that good. And then people have brought this up a few times. The 31 points a game that they scored last year, some of those numbers were inflated because of the points that they were able to put up against inferior opponents.
Right.
And I agree with all that. But other teams have inferior opponents too.
You can say, look at Notre Dame. Their first game, they scored like 42 against Navy. The next game, they were in the 50s against Tennessee State. And then everybody just piled up points against Stanford. In fact, somebody, I can't tell you who it is right now, scored more against Stanford than Notre Dame did. And so, yeah, I mean, they had theirs too. In fact, in the games where they played good teams, like, they scored 21 against Duke. And as you know, the last touchdown came with 36 seconds left in the game.
Yep.
They scored, what was it? Was it also 14 or something like that against Clemson?
Yeah.
Now they scored a lot against USC, but one was on a kickoff return, which a little bit of a concern because of A&M. But 3 short fields on interceptions. In fact, I think 2 of the interceptions, they got the ball like inside the 20.
We are running our mouths. This is brought to you by Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, where you can find Brooks on Hoka shoes, located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill. Are you a Jerry Palm guy?
No, I mean, I find his work interesting, but I'm not one of those guys that say, okay, well, Jerry Palm said it, so it's got to be true. I'm like,
who is one of those guys?
Are we talking football or basketball?
Well, I just remember Jerry's been a little hard on A&M basketball-wise the last couple of years. Yeah. I mean, he might eventually come around, but I think he's been one of those that's a little slower to come around. But when it comes to football, did you see what he wrote?
I did not.
Oh. He's got his predictions for the playoffs. Number 5 Alabama and number 6 Texas A&M are the 7th and 8th seeds respectively.
Yes, I'm all in on Jerry Palm.
Yes, that is 4 SEC teams.
I'm going to give Palm a hand.
What a guy, right? I love this Jerry Palm. What a palm of a guy, right?
Yeah.
He has Penn State playing A&M in the first round.
Oh, I like that matchup.
Yeah. Jerry, I didn't know he was so brilliant. I didn't know.
He's a brilliant.
Probably handsome too.
Let's pump the brakes there.
I don't know what he looks like. I'm assuming bald, but that's just what it comes to my head.
Any kind of short and stumpy, and maybe has a toupee.
Maybe he's a wig man. We don't have to throw that on him. Jerry Palm, no, he looks like a normal person. I just Googled him. That's definitely not Jerry Palm, this one, but this could be.
No, I don't think that's him.
You don't think that's
something lied?
That's
him.
Oh, I guess Google lied.
I think he's like I said, I think he might even.
But regardless, what a brilliant man to say that this week.
Yeah, I hope
Jerry, I hope you're right. I'm not predicting that to be the case, but I don't know what to predict because I don't know. Sorry. That's your groundbreaking news.
Okay, I guess that is him.
That is him, huh?
Yeah.
Not a short, bald guy that you thought he was.
But look, here's a picture. Well, maybe that was a youngin'. This is him now. And I know this is terrible radio, but does that look like a stumpy guy that might be wearing a toque?
I'm just going to say that Jerry Palm, nice job, sir.
Hey, nice job.
Well,
there's a lot of brilliant stumpy people that.
Okay, why do we got to go there?
Because there are.
He might be tall.
Okay, he might be.
He's sitting in a chair slouching.
You're right. You're right. My bad.
He might be 5'4" or 6'4". I'm going to probably go in the not.
Well, one of the smartest guy I know is a runt. A little short guy, I should say. Runt, maybe that might.
Is this somebody who works here?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is he really a ball of hate sometimes?
I don't know if he's a ball of hate.
Okay.
I know he's come down from Chicago.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you were talking about somebody else. Another guy.
The guy with his own creek.
Yeah.
Dawson's Creek.
If you want to be a part of the show this morning, you can call us. You can text us. 979-693-1150 is our phone number. If we pick it up, we'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms Hotline, Aggieland's premier gun and accessory shop. They've got all that you need to build your next firearm. Check them out at bossfirearms.com. Let's go around the room. Say hi to the people. We go behind the glass. We say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
You actually sound very energetic this morning. It's
good
to hear your voice.
It's Friday, going into the weekend, so excited about that.
We got some interns joining the fold today.
We got new interns.
Juan Marcos Palomo.
Great family.
Oh, really? You know that?
Yeah.
You're familiar?
Absolutely.
Huh.
I have broken bread with 2 of his uncles.
Yeah.
Federico out in Miami and Guayo out in San Salvador.
Yeah.
Great Aggies.
And athletic.
Yeah.
They can run. They can talk soccer, which I know you love.
Doesn't Guayo provide us some coffee?
TexAgs coffee. Yeah. Guayo's farm. Hola, Guayo. Llámame. Anyway, welcome to the new interns, and appreciate it. So, Nick, what's going on with you?
Well, it's a feel-good story here. So, Little League World Series just started. I'm sure y'all have been, or I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on it or not, but there's a Texas team, of course.
There always is.
There always is. They're from Bernie this year.
Okay.
And so, go ahead and put that up, Carson. Boerne.
Good job.
Good job.
But, yeah, there's a kid by the name of Gray Collins who, if you take a look at that score bug there, favorite athlete, Jace Laviolette. and
Great
Jace
Collins.
actually quote tweeted that picture. It was posted, I guess, by his uncle or something. Josh Collins posted it and said, "Nephew being raised right to listen to Jace Lavalette." Jace quote tweeted that and said, "This is for sure one of the cooler things I've seen in my life." So it's just confirmed. Bernie, Little League, they're going to win the whole thing.
They're going to win it all.
It's just confirmed.
I bet you Jerry Palm is a friend of the family. Got to be. That's a smart family right there.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I saw Jace tweeting about it. That's good stuff. Thank you, Nick. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I think we just spoke about it. Matthew Dawson's there. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant.
No, it's not today.
Oh, is it Luke?
It's Luke.
Oh.
Another wig man.
Hey, you did something different. I'm not going to talk, but like it looks a little bit more like pushed in.
David, how was your trip to Turkey? I know you were just there over your vacation. Did you do anything cool over there? Hair-wise?
There's a joke or something.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the punchline.
Ready? Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Let me get into.
No, what's the joke? I want to know what the joke is.
No, you just you recovered really well after that hair transplant, and I'm really happy for you.
He's trying to make a hair joke because he's trying to fire back, but he's firing blanks while you're shooting missiles.
He's not shooting missiles. It's not anything no one else has already said.
We know you're shooting blanks. Remember the Apex performance of the week, all right? We know this guy.
We don't need to bring that back up ever again.
I just did. And I know your dad's listening. Sorry.
Sorry, Mark.
Anyways, how about Bernie Little League? They actually won
We just
9.
talked about them.
Yeah, no, can I add to it? They
Yes,
won
sir.
9-0 yesterday.
Who they beat?
Pennsylvania. They beat
Good.
Newtown, Pennsylvania.
Good.
I like when Pennsylvania loses.
Yeah.
Penn State football here in that first round matchup, that
that's
Jerry
right.
Palm, and then Penn in the Little League World Series.
Yeah, still haven't gotten over the basketball game from a couple of years ago. So,
Oh,
yeah.
They were raining
So,
threes.
so we're
Threes.
we're getting revenge.
Threes. And then we kept on shooting
We're
threes.
counting on our 12-year-olds to get revenge for us.
Future Aggies.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Luke, please.
Yeah, I got you. So I'm sure everyone was aware of it last night. There was a pretty big preseason football game last night. Anias Smith caught his first ever NFL pass on a game-winning 2-point conversion for the Eagles.
Have you not
as they
seen the
defeated.
plays?
No.
We got 2 plays.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You talk, because this is your thing.
Okay, yeah. There's the touchdown.
Obi
2-point
wasn't
conversion.
watching. He didn't see.
Oh,
You just missed him.
Dang.
That's the game winner right there,
because
right?
everybody knows what a big fan I am of Anias, or I was. I mean, now he plays for the.
Look at that.
There he is.
That's the
Doing
play that they
Anias.
ran against
That's-
Alabama.
That's the play no.
Yeah.
They should have ran.
That's the play that they
No,
were hoping to
it's
run with
not.
Evan Stewart. No, it's not the same play?
No.
He came from across the formation.
So there you go. I messed that one up.
But yeah.
That's what they should have run against Alabama.
That's closer to what LSU ran. Closer, because LSU threw a tight end to the tight end, but it's closer to what LSU ran to beat Alabama. But it's doing a nice things.
Was that his first catch?
Yeah, first ever reception in the NFL, and it was a 2-point conversion that won the game.
Congratulations on that.
I love that kid.
I do too.
I love I loved his mentality, the way he played. Any team but the Eagles.
He could be a future co-host of this show. There's the Go Hour, and then there's the
He's so
The Shoes Hour.
He is
Shoes.
He's so honest.
Yeah.
That's what another thing. There's nothing about Anias I didn't like.
Hey, can I actually interject something here
Yes.
that has nothing to do with Anias, but it just got me thinking? Max Wright's going to be doing a weekly segment with us starting football season. So
Another honest guy.
And he's also going to be writing about the games. So I'm looking forward
Excellent.
to that.
Another guy with just a really great mustache that is dependable, and you can always count on him, right?
Yeah, but
Tom
It's good
Selleck
to
and
have
Max
2
Wright.
of them on the show.
Sorry, what?
What's up?
I was talking about Tom Selleck.
Oh, okay.
Blue Bloods, good show.
Yeah. One of the things another thing I'm impressed about Max is his mustache and his hair are the same color.
This is true. Luke?
Good one, OB. Anyways, how
That
about
was a fake laugh. Usually he gives you genuine laughs.
No, that
was
that
more like an
wasn't
upset
good.
laugh. Like,
That
all right, he's
doesn't
my
even
boss.
that doesn't even deserve a laugh out of me, OB. You can do better. Okay, how about Aggie
wasn't
soccer? Can we
joking.
get back to real news now, OB?
Yeah, let's do.
Thank you. Aggie soccer started their 2024 campaign
Yeah.
with a 5-0 win over Lamar in Beaumont last night.
Gee whiz.
Wow.
What was the score?
It was 5-0.
I like that.
That was good, OB. G-Wiz was good. So they're going to host Denver on Wednesday, August 21st at Ellis Field. That's going to be their first home game of the season, so make sure to come out and support.
Shoes.
I was in Denver last summer.
I was too.
Yes, you were.
Not this
For
particular-
soccer.
And family. but mostly soccer. Anyway,
I like Denver.
We'll come back to you at some point, Luke. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back 24 and 24. Number 6.
Number 6.
Aye, Captain. Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just making sure. You guys know who number 6 is after that, right? Everybody knows. All right, let's talk a little Heritage Films, right? Chance McClain's company, they make documentary films. OB's face just a second ago. They make documentary films about families and family businesses. I actually did this spot yesterday with Jamie Morrison in the studio, and he walked out. I was like, that's a really good idea. Yes, it is a great idea. You should get a documentary done about your family. Maybe get-togethers. Could be Thanksgiving dinner. It could be getting ready for the Aggie-Texas game. It could be the A&M versus Texas game. It could be the, what do they call it? The Lone Star Showdown, right? That's what we call it. I think we call it now the Lone Star Showdown, starting next year. Anyway, it is a cool thing to be a part of, and I think your family would love it, no doubt about it. We did it with my dad. I highly recommend it for any family out there that wants to keep the family name and that family story, because Aggies love telling their stories, and there's a bunch of Aggies listening to this right now, and you should all call up Chance McClain at 713-893-8341. That number, 713-893-8341. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. It is yourheritagefilm.com. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this like Bad Company?
I don't know.
Or
I
something.
just feel like I feel sad now.
I'm trying to remember the
I could see this at a funeral.
No, it picks up. It picks up.
Okay.
I just can't remember the name of the song.
I hear somebody in the background yelling. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go are presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Football.
Bad Company, OB.
Yeah,
Bad Company.
that's what I said,
By
yeah.
Bad Company.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not going to get into music or movies. All right?
You want to talk about some Bad Company? Is our next guy, number 6 on the
Bad Company in a good way for us.
He's
a bad company for defensive lines.
That's what I'm saying.
Should I do the sponsor read?
Yeah, do it.
It is 24 in 24, and that is brought to you by FBS Appliance, committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. Number 6 on the list, OB, is
Trey freaking Zune.
Love this kid.
I do too.
You know what I love about him, OB? Is
tough.
Well, he's strong. He's smart. He's very good at what he does. But I've watched him grind through where he is right now. Right. His first year, remember, there were some struggles, right?
As there always are.
As there should be. And that guy just put his head down and worked and now he's a freaking captain.
Guy played an entire year with a torn labrum and a bad knee that needed surgery. And he stayed out there and played through it. That guy is tough. I mean, he's rattlesnake tough. And then on top of that, he's really smart. I mean, crazy smart. And then he really, like you said, he's really strong. But I mean, he really cares about. I think he really cares about A&M and wanting to win for his team, not just out there like, hey, I'm going to play really well so I get a shot in the NFL. No, I think that Trey Zune is everything you want in a teammate and everything you want representing your team.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial here.
Okay.
And I don't know if I necessarily mean what I'm about to say, but we talk about the prior regime and the lack of development at that position.
Mm-hmm.
He has developed. Now, how much of that is on the coaching? How much of it is on the young man himself getting? But he is somebody that I have seen on a higher trajectory, and also somebody with this coaching staff is taking his game than you have.
Yeah, I think so, and I think he's another one of those guys that's really going to benefit from Tommy Moffitt, but I think everything you're saying is true. However, I believe that he's the type of guy that develops no matter who the coach is because he's going to
work.
He's going to work. He's going to do what he has to do to get better. And let's say it again, though. He played an entire year and got criticism because, they didn't ever tell you who was hurt, playing with a torn labrum. That means you can't lift your arm over your shoulder or probably even with your shoulder while trying to fend off SEC defensive linemen.
Yep.
Guys that'd be taken in the draft. And he did this as a young guy. Well, they're all young, but I mean, young, inexperienced guy. And you never heard him complain about it.
Yeah.
Just tough as nails.
So I've used this line about him that I think he shed the baby fat that he had. Not that he had baby fat, but like he is now a more sculpted version of himself.
Rock.
That's not the word I was thinking, but yes. But he is rock-ish. Not as in the wrestler. He's strong.
He's an enormous human being. What he's about 6'7" and 320, 325, and just a huge guy, but he moves pretty well. Again, so much of what we've judged him on before was skewed because he was hurt. But man, he's just out there still playing, and now he's healthy. I think you can expect him to legitimately contend for all SEC honors. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but I'm saying I can think
if he's contending for it, though,
I think he's healthy. I mean, he was their best lineman, I thought, last year, and now he's 100% healthy and stronger and got, again, better coaching and all those things going with him.
Unrelated.
Big year.
I talked to Le'Veon Moss yesterday, right? And what a nice young man. But when I asked about the Tommy Moffitt effect, his face told me Like, you go back and watch that interview. Like, his face tells you it all. Another example of the Tommy Moffitt. Because I wonder, am I overrating this whole Tommy Moffitt effect? Like myself, like I talk about it all the time. If you look at the way these athletes respond, not only how they look physically, but when they talk about it, like, oh, it's something different.
Well, again, he came in and he told us we got to get stronger, right? And we're going to do what we have to do to get stronger. And I believe Trey Zoon, just by looking at him, did what he had to do to get stronger.
We got to hit a break because Tony Barnhart's ready to roll. He's already here. So let's
Mr. College Football.
Let's talk to Mr. College Football. Right now, if you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggieland, or you're already in Aggieland looking for a great job, reach out to the Association of Former Students because they want to hire professionals in so many different departments. We've got fundraising, marketing. Those are some of the other ones. But they've got jobs all the time. They're the nation's premier alumni organization and the oldest organization supporting A&M because of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss an opportunity to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Reading Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It's the Association of Former Students. Our next guest is super busy, so let's get straight to it. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the boss, Firearms Hotline, Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, joining us here on the program. Tony, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How you
doing?
Been?
Well.
Well, somebody asked me yesterday, are you ready for football season? I said, you may not have a choice. No. We are ready for what I'm calling not the best college football season ever, but the most interesting football season we've ever had. And I'm looking forward to it.
Well, let's start off with our team that we cover here, Texas A&M. There's been a lot of change here since the last time you and I spoke.
Yep.
The Coach Elko era. What do you think so far heading into this year?
Had a chance to talk to a number of people who are close to the Aggies program, and the vibe that I get is one of optimism, because some things are being addressed that needed to be addressed, and you guys know what I'm talking about. The bottom line is the people that I talked to felt like the Aggies simply weren't a tough enough football team to compete at the level that they want to compete at. And so I think they're anxious. I like Mike Elko a lot. I think he's going to bring a new attitude. You guys are closer to it than I am, but I see optimistic now. If Connor Wigman can stay healthy, you got a shot.
Tony, you've always liked the possibilities of Texas A&M, right? Kind of like it was kind of like they're a pre-Steve Spurrier Florida, maybe. Yep. That's never really figured it out. What do you think are the steps that? Or first of all, are you still do you still believe in those possibilities? And what do you think it's going to take for A&M to reach them?
I absolutely believe in the possibilities, because when you look at Texas, I mean, I've been to Texas A&M. I've toured the facilities since they did that last renovation for Kyle Field, and everything is there. There's nothing missing at Texas A&M that you should not compete for a national championship. So that's number one, and I think people are genuinely excited, and we will see. It's going to be interesting, guys, because what's going to make the season interesting is Texas A&M is not going to play that SEC West schedule. Okay, that's different, and everybody's schedule is going to be different. It's going to be hard, but that's what's so fascinating. That's why this season is going to be so interesting. There's so much that we don't know that's only going to be revealed once they start playing the games.
Tony, are you high on Notre Dame, and what do you think about that opening week game?
I think it's a great opening weekend, and yeah, I've got Notre Dame 11 in my top 16 for the football writers. I think they've got a chance to have a very good team. And here again, here's what's going to be interesting about Notre Dame. We know this. Notre Dame can't get one of the byes in the college football playoff. They have to play in the first round, but they could host a game. But I like Notre Dame.
Let me ask you this about your thoughts on what to expect from the two new teams coming in the SEC, Oklahoma and Texas. Mm-hmm. I know back in 2012 there was this thought by most that covered the SEC that A&M was going to have a rocky road, and then they ended up having a really good year. So I don't think I would dismiss Texas and Oklahoma right away just because they're coming in. But your thoughts on what to expect from those guys, or what those guys should expect?
Well, as far as what we should expect, I think Texas has got the roster to compete for the SEC championship. And I think most people have them in the SEC championship game against Georgia right now. So their roster is more talented than Oklahoma's roster right now. I think there's some uncertainty at quarterback. They think they have the guy they need there. But I just think Texas is ready to compete for the championship right now. I think Oklahoma has some work to do.
Tony, this came up on the show yesterday. I just want your perspective because of how close you've been to the Georgia program. If they would have gotten into the playoffs last year, okay, I think they would have won the national championship. That's my opinion of it. So if that's the case, how would we be looking at them this season? Obviously, they're the top team, but I'm just talking from a historical perspective.
From a historical perspective, if Georgia had won the national championship last year, you're talking about certainly uncharted territory for Kirby Smart and this Georgia program. And I agree with you in that if they had gotten into the playoffs, they would have won it. Now, obviously they lost the SEC championship game. Nick Saban did, in my opinion, the best coaching job of his career with that team, that Alabama team, to win a championship. But I think if Georgia had gotten into the playoffs, I think they were the most talented team overall with the better quarterback. So I think they would have won it all.
Well, staying on Georgia, Tony, it seemed last year they really missed Bowers when he got hurt, and McConkey when he was hurt, and then you got guys who've been longtime starters in the offensive line like Cedric Van Pran that are gone and things like that. So why would Georgia be as good this year without those guys and some of the other guys they lost?
Well, I'll give you the response that Kirby Smart gave me when I asked him basically the same question. He said, how can you expect to be there? He said, because we replaced a lot of really good players with a lot of really good players. It's really a tribute to the recruiting they've done. I don't follow recruiting, but I think their last 5 recruiting classes have all been in the top 4, something like that. And to have that kind of depth of talent, in other words, when they have seen guys go like Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and on, the guys they're replacing them with are really, really good. Oscar Delp is the tight end that's going to replace Brock Bowers, and he's really, really good. So I just think it's all about the roster. And it's all about the depth of talent.
Tony, are you buying Clemson's comeback year?
Not completely. I'm taking a wait and see attitude. I'm not sure their roster is where it needs to be. Florida State has got to be your choice in the ACC. The question is, can the ACC get a second team in the playoffs? If so, then it's probably Clemson. But I'm not on the Clemson bandwagon just yet.
And do you think Alabama is just going to continue along like it has now that you don't have Nick Saban and some of the really good players that they lost?
Yep.
I know Alabama, like Georgia, typically just reloads, but there's got to be some difference now, doesn't there?
Well, you don't lose the greatest coach of all time and not think there's going to be some sort of drop off. But I've got Alabama third, and I think they're the third best team in the conference. And as I told somebody the other day, I said, "Why do you feel that way?" I said, "They're Alabama, okay? There's a certain level of expectation." And I had a chance to spend some time with Kalen DeBoer, not a lot of time, but some time down in Destin, and I was very impressed with him. So I think Alabama's going to be fine. They got Georgia coming to Tuscaloosa on the 28th of September. Wow, that's going to be a huge game. So I think Alabama's going to be right there when it's all over. But I've got Georgia and Texas playing for the championship in Atlanta.
Tony, along those lines about you lose the best coach of all time, there's going to be some drop-off. What about LSU? Heisman Trophy winner, a couple first-round picks at wide receiver. The offense is expected still to be very good, but do you see much of a drop-off for LSU?
No, I don't. I think Brian Kelly's a really, really good coach. And last year was just the offense was generational. It was great. The defense was, as my daddy used to say, was boo awful. And they've made some changes. The 4 new coaches on that side of the ball. I think they'll be better. I don't know how much better, but I think Brian Kelly's a really, really good coach.
Hey, and Tony, if I could take you back to Alabama just one more time. I have no doubts about Kalen DeBoer as far as game planning and scheming and X's and O's. What I do wonder about is when he has a loss or two. You said you're picking Alabama third. I don't know how well that sits in Tuscaloosa. And if he has a loss or two, how do you think he responds to what comes with being the coach of Alabama if you're not reaching the same goals or the same standard as Nick Saban?
Well, Olin, having said all of that, Alabama's got to make the playoffs. Okay, you're not going to be able to tell that with all the losses and losing Saban and all. You can't tell the Alabama people they're not one of the best 12 teams in the country with the resources that they have. And what's that going to feel like? What are the talk shows going to feel like? But I will say this. Kalen DeBoer impressed me as a guy who is very comfortable in his own skin. He understands the expectations at Alabama and what that's going to be like. I think he's going to handle it. But again, we will be a lot, guys. Let's get together again after the Georgia-Alabama game on September 28th. I think we'll be a lot smarter after that game.
Tony, great stuff as always, my friend. Thanks for making time for us. We'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, guys.
See ya. Tony Barnhart on the Boss Firearms Hotline.
he's a outstanding journalist who happens to cover college football, and the expert term gets thrown around way too often. It applies.
There's a reason his name is Mr.
Football. Mr. College Football.
Yeah. Hey, and something he said there, which, by the way, I don't disagree with about Brian Kelly being, one of the best coaches. I don't disagree. But do you remember when he took the job? Well, actually, right before he took the job at LSU, that entering the 21 season, so it was a year prior, he was in your top 5, but so was Jimbo.
Yeah.
So was Jimbo. Like, I'm just saying, like, how things
can change.
Things can change for one, and things stay the same for the other. Like, at that point, I think Jimbo was. I think when I took the job in July of 21, Jimbo was routinely put as a top 5 coach in college football, not just the SEC, in college football.
Yeah. Well, again, in 3 years, Jimbo had A&M at a championship level.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that Alabama team was light years better than everybody else.
100%.
But you could make a really strong argument that A&M was the second best team in the country, or at the very least, I think we all agree. Should have been in the playoffs. Yep. I think most. But there was a time when you can throw out. There was a time when. Let's see who I want to use as an example. Golly, what I'm trying to Dabo Swinney.
Dabo.
Is Dabo considered a top 5 coach right now?
I think he's considered a top 7 coach.
Okay, but is Dabo's profile starting to slip?
Yeah, absolutely. It was Saban, Dabo,
right,
and then I don't know, maybe Jimbo at that point. Since then, since 21, they've all dropped. No, excuse me. Jimbo dropped. Dabo's dropped, but Dabo hasn't had the dramatic drop that Jimbo had.
And I go back to when Bobby Bowden or Joe Paterno, that's the 1 or 2 best coaches in college football history or whatever. And then now they got older but to the point is that yes, Brian Kelly has remained more successful, but I think he's done a better job. Even though people in LSU would disagree about his defense coordinator, but I think he's done from last year, but I think he's done a better job making hires, or even more importantly, making fires in his coaching staff to remain successful.
Set a break here. Have you ever? I know Quinn's been to Alaska. Have you been to Alaska?
I've never been.
Would you like to go?
I would love to go.
Would you like to go hunting in Alaska?
Hunting? I'd like to go fishing.
Fishing in Alaska? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because, Duck Camp's got the gear for you.
I would hunt.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't kill anything because I'm probably not that good a shot.
Yeah, I agree.
But the fish isn't going to, if I miss, the fish isn't going to kill me.
Right. The bear's going to come after you.
Yeah.
By the way, so when I go hunting this year, and I've already got plans, one of the bye weeks, Steve Naegeli's taking me. That's already been, it's etched in stone. Porter Gardner says he's going to take me too. So I'm going. And I'll be fishing, but I'll be wearing duck camp gear. I'll take some pictures and I'll post it when I do it.
You gonna go duck hunting?
I'll do whatever hunting they want me to do. I've played duck hunting on Nintendo before. I was great. It's probably the same thing.
Yeah, probably.
You don't think? Like,
just
to make the sound effects and point and go, right? So, by the way,
who could really benefit from all this stuff?
Me, I'm the hunter of the group.
Irma Buchanan.
Oh, she's a legit.
She likes to hunt and shoot and
camos.
Why I sleep with one eye open.
Solids. I'll be wearing my duck camp gear, but you can get all of those. And by the way, I said Alaska because they've tested it in the backcountry of Alaska and Duff Fields in Texas. The clothing is, I wouldn't say fitted. It's comfortable. It's like it just fits you the right way. Go check it out. Duck Camp is the company. The website is duckcamp.com. Their gear is made for people that live moments that are out there where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, and time to kill, football to watch. It's Duck Camp.
You need to come in completely camo.
I'll do it.
I'm talking about the face. Yes, the whole thing.
Like the movie Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
But with Duck Camp gear.
And I'll wear the same sleeveless thing because who doesn't go sleeveless in the jungle?
And let's bring in a duck and let you kill it right here in the studio.
I don't want
You're
people
draw
picketing.
The law.
Yeah.
Draw a line.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it's Duck Camp. Bye. I like this song, by the way. Hey, so we just did a fake segment off air.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do it ever on air.
Okay.
But reasons why any of us in studio would go to jail, it was kind of funny.
We could actually could have had a survey and
everybody would have said the one you said about
listener.
Me. Yeah.
Listener interaction. Say if Olin Buchanan
Went to
or
jail?
David Nuño was ever going to go to jail, what do you think the charge would be?
Right. Don't send text messages, please. No. Which automatically means I'm going to get 100 on this. Yes, I know mine's assault. I get it. Bank on It Time, presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more, VeraBank.com. We got a minute and a half left. What are you banking on?
We already opened the show with it, and I wrote my column about it yesterday.
You're banking on that?
I'm banking on it. I know 2 weeks ahead of time, but hey, I never wait to the last minute. I like to get out in front of things. I'm banking on A&M winning that season opener over Notre Dame, and I'm not basing that on any homerism. I'm basing it on factoids that I noticed while breaking down the teams.
All right, I'm banking on something that I said on the interview with Le'Veon Moss yesterday.
Yeah.
Banking on 1,400 yards from that young man. That's a lot.
14, that's a lot.
That's a lot. I said it on the interview, so now I have to stick with it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of numbers, but why not?
I'm also banking on David Nuño being jailed for assault.
And what will you be jailed for?
Being handsome in the first degree.
A crash while driving?
A crash?
I'm just saying, sometimes you're kind of fearful.
No, if that's the pot calling the count, the guy who will go on the.
I wrote a paragraph once driving. Yes.
Once?
Each trip, once. Who's gotten a ticket? Who hasn't?
I haven't had a ticket. I did. If you have a death wish, just ride shotgun with David.
But one thing is true. I'm gonna go slow. I do drive slow like an old lady. All right, we'll come back. Brandon Copeland joining us next on TexAgs. Hey, everybody. Brandon Copeland says he'll join us in about 3 minutes. This is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke Evangelos is there to get us started before we talk to our next guest. Lukey?
Yeah, I've got a little A&M volleyball update. We just had Jamie Morrison in studio yesterday. He's phenomenal as always.
He's your guy.
That's my guy, Jamie Morrison.
He's also my guy.
Yeah, he's our guy. He's one of TexAg's most beloved coaches for sure. Anytime he comes in the office, he always makes an effort to chat with everyone here.
He's great.
So we love him. A&M volleyball just announced that they're going to have 4 nationally televised games on their upcoming schedule. When they play Florida, it'll be on SEC Network Friday, October 18th. Texas on ESPNU Wednesday, October 22nd. They've got Tennessee on ESPN on Sunday, November 10th. And then finally, Oklahoma on SEC Network Wednesday, November 13th.
You know, he's pretty high on that team. They obviously had a great first year. Hopefully they can build on that. And the guy, all he does is win wherever he goes, right? If it's Team USA, the U19s, or if it's with A&M, he certainly gets the most out of his players. Luke?
Yeah, and if you want to get a little sneak peek of that team and what they're going to look like in year 2, they've got the maroon and white game tomorrow, Saturday, August 17th at 2 o'clock at Reed Arena. Very similar to how like a football spring game is going to work. Their team's going to play against each other. You'll get a feel for more of the athletes. They've got a lot of returners like Logan Lednicki who are poised to make a big jump this year. And year 2 for a lot of A&M coaches has been successful, and you hope that Jamie Morrison can repeat that trend.
Yeah, and hopefully year 1 for some.
Yeah, year 1 as well.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Who am I talking about?
Mike Elko. Duh.
Oh, yeah, and who else? Michael Early.
Oh, I see. That's one like he's already been here, so it's hard.
So it's hard, but he's a first-year head coach.
Yeah, technically. But if you think about it, like,
there's no technically.
Jace or someone say he's been the coach for like the head coach for the last 3 years, something like that. Like he's been involved with the team.
This is his first year, like with all the spotlight, and I can't wait to see what he does with this team. Anything else?
No, just a couple text messages, kind of confirming what you were saying about yourself in the last segment. Like you would definitely do that.
No, that's not what Cody said.
Oh,
read what Cody said.
No, I got a different text message actually.
Which one did you get?
It's like on my phone. It just says like, yeah, Nuño would do that. Anyways,
I'm gonna read what Cody said then, since you won't give me any credit. Nuño strikes me as someone who wouldn't be able to assault anyone. He's too kind.
Yeah, you're all talk, and that's okay. Some of us are. Thank you, Nick, for laughing at that. It's okay. Some of us are really about that action.
Would you like to arm wrestle right now on the set during the show?
See, that's just bad radio right there.
No. I think it's good television, and we have a television audience on the CW and on YouTube. If that's what you'd like to do, we could do that.
No, it's okay, because I know we've actually got important things to do in this show, so I don't want to take up any of your valuable time. How about a text from San Antonio? It was announced yesterday that there was going to be a joint press conference on Thursday about the Lone Star Showdown.
Yeah, guys, it's not what everybody's writing about. All right, I don't know what it's about, but it's not that. Okay, I'm fairly sure I know what it's about, but it's not that. It's nothing for you guys to get all worked up about. Right? Nothing. The game's not going away from Kyle Field. It's not that. So just relax. That's all I can say.
I can't even read one of the comments on the YouTube that you responded to, but it's hilarious from Kurt. If you want to go check that out. Connor in the Woodlands.
Have you noticed? Okay, and we are going to talk football for the 6 people that get mad. Have you noticed that OB has become, on at least the YouTube page, kind of like a Chuck Norris of TexAgs?
Yeah.
Like, this one is I'm not going to read it either, but I'll just read it. It says OB lost his virginity before his dad. That's what Kurt said. I think that's hilarious. He's like Chuck Norris of TexAgs.
You read it. You read it. I didn't. Let's just remember that you read that, and I had the heart not to.
All right. I know we're about to have Brandon Copeland on the show. Let me just set this up. So he's helping athletes with financial literacy. He played in the NFL for a long time. So I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts on the direction of NIL, his thoughts on how he can help athletes. So we'll talk to Brandon Copeland here in a moment. My friend Juan, who does radio for Sirius, is like, you got to get Copeland on. He's Cope. He goes by Cope. He's a really good guest. So we should have him here on the show in a moment. Before that, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can text us or call us, 979-693-1150. And by the way, this show is presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, proud corporate sponsor of Aggie Athletics, and of this show since day one. 911 University Drive East in College Station. They got Rolexes. They got timepieces for both men and women. Stop by David Gardner's Jewelers and meet with a certified Rolex specialist. 911 University Drive East in College Station. The website is davidgardnersjewelers.com. All right. Still no Brandon Copeland. He said he was going to be on in 30 seconds. You do got him? All right, cool. So we'll talk to him here in a moment. Let me just give you a little bit about his background, okay? Played in the NFL as a linebacker, most recently with the New York Jets. Ivy League professor, Forbes under 30 under 30, excuse me, TED Talk speaker. He's got a top 10 Netflix series. The guy helps out athletes all over the place, and he is now here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Cope, what's up, man? How you been?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us. So, look, I know we got some NIL to get into, but how does an NFL linebacker not only become a professor, right, Ivy League, but also has a Netflix series that's in the top 10? How did that all branch out after your career?
Everything. Every once in a while, you get lucky, I guess, right? So one, in terms of being a professor, I've gone to the Wharton School of Business, graduated from Penn. I've interned at UBS, Union Bank of Switzerland. It's the largest wealth management firm in the world. I've also worked night shift at Walmart and bounced at the local bar at school. But when I came into the NFL, I was with the Baltimore Ravens, and that's where I learned about what a 401k was. And I was like, hold up, I had to make it to the league to learn about what a 401k is. So who's going to teach my mom this? Who's going to teach my brother this? And then I bought my first house. And I realized when I bought my first house, I was signing over 30 years of my life, and I had no idea what half of the things in all of those 106 pages of documents said. So long story short, that encouraged me to go out and start a class talking about all of the things that we have to do in life when it comes to our money: buy a house, buy a car, buy appliances, wills and estates, investing. But let's do it in class and let us all practice these things before we have to do it live for real. Because unfortunately, when we have to do it live on the spot as adults, a lot of times we make mistakes. There's most of the things you do for the first time in your life, you make a mistake doing it. And if you do that with your money, unfortunately, that leads to so many mental health problems. It leads to you having to work the rest of your life to work off one bad decision. And I wanted to stop that for as many people as possible.
Hey, Cope, one thing that just struck me, I should have told you I was going to ask you about it, but I didn't think of it until I introed you a moment ago. You played at Penn. Mike Elko, the head coach at Texas A&M, played at Penn. So there's that little connection there.
Yeah, that's the Quakers right there, and I always tell people, because people hear Quakers and they think, we soft. We're not the Quaker Oats, all right? We're a little aggressive Quaker now.
Well, if you go to Penn, you got to be smart, right? And Coach Elko's already demonstrated that. You ever play with somebody at Penn that you're like, how did you get into Penn, dude?
No comment. I plead the fifth on that one.
Hey, before we get into some of the NIL stuff that I know we want to talk about, how did the Netflix series come about? And tell us about that.
Yeah, so years ago, this was right before I was with the Falcons. So it was during my time with the Patriots. One of their producers from the show reached out, and at first I thought it was just a fake request or something like that, but ended up deciding to take the call, showing up. That's one of the first rules in life. You got to be willing to show up, and basically interviewed for the opportunity to be on the show. They had an idea of the concepts. They had other folks that they were thinking about for hosts of the show, and ultimately they accepted me. It was myself. It was Glenn Kelman, CEO of Redfin. It was Pamela Liebman, CEO of the Corcoran Group, and it was Denisha Wrightster, an amazing entrepreneur out of Los Angeles. And for those who haven't seen the show, it's called Buy My House. It's like Shark Tank, but instead of people pitching their businesses, they were actually pitching their homes. And we were all able to, as investors, able to make decisions on whether we wanted to buy the property, whether we wanted to not buy it or partner up on the deals. And so it was a really, really fun time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had my own trailer. It was pretty cool. And they were shooting Stranger Things out there at Netflix Studios the same time that we were shooting our show. So very, very cool experience. And it was 13 days before training camp with the Falcons too. So it was a grind for me. I was up at 4 a.m. training for 3 hours, and then I would go shoot for 10 to 11 hours a day, and then I'd go do another workout, because that's you had to make sure you keep the main thing. But a phenomenal experience that I wouldn't trade for the world.
Did your teammates understand how cool of an experience that was? Did they give you a hard time? How was that?
Nah, they loved it, man. That's one thing I will say. My teammates have always been extremely supportive of the things I've done off the field. When you do things like that, sometimes there are people who will try to detract away from it and make you feel less than. But because it was money, and also because of my personality in terms of trying to help people and not necessarily trying to brag about myself or anything like that, they were always like, yo, that was so cool. What happened in episode 3? Did you end up doing this? And did you end up doing that? And so it was a fun time. The other thing I will say too, for those listening, the pressure that you have when you're doing things like that off the field, because when I came into the NFL, the mindset was to hide as many things off the field as possible, because you didn't want the building thinking that you were not focused on football, right? And once I started doing more things off the field and it became public, I get coaches. Actually, I had one of my former head coaches hit me up this morning about something that came out about me, which was nice. And it all it meant though for me was now the pressure was on even more on the field to make sure that I was as perfect as possible, because any mistake you make after doing a show on Netflix or teaching in the off seasons and being talked about it, especially as an undrafted free agent, now coaches will say, oh, you distracted. Oh, you don't know the plays because of this. So for me, it made me step my game up even more, because I can't give you any reason to say Cope is failing on the football field because he's distracted off the field.
Cope, I want to ask you about Athletes Org. When did you start it? And I'm assuming initially it was probably for professional athletes, and I'm assuming it's kind of morphed into all athletes.
Yeah. Well, so my co-founder, Jim Cavall, and I, we started this. We met last Super Bowl, actually, and sat down and started talking about just the need for college athletes to have representation. And it's always been for college athletes, actually. And so we launched publicly literally almost a year ago, coming up on August 23rd. And what we saw was college athletes need their own voice and their own representation in all of the negotiating tables that make up college athletics. The way the pro leagues work, you have the NFL and you have the NFL Players Association, and the NFL and the NFLPA, they will butt heads every once in a while and come together to collectively bargain on an agreement and the terms of play. But after that, they become partners in one of the best businesses in the world. And instead of every time you open up the news, you see in lawsuit after lawsuit from this player and this player and this player, you get to talk, you see the media talking about football, right? Because they all have agreed to the terms of their play, and there's nothing that that any player is playing under that they did not agree to, right? Now, when you look at college athletics, you had collectives who had their space in the world, and you had NIL that was paying athletes for the first time ever, which was great to see. However, NIL is a marketing deal that Patrick Mahomes does. It's his State Farm deal. It's not his check from the Kansas City Chiefs. And ultimately, when you have collectives and donors and fans paying players to come to a school, they're not getting an ROI, and that's going to fade away at some point in time. And so now, with the introduction of revenue sharing, which is coming to college athletics in 2025, obviously there was a huge settlement that's been agreed to. We'll see if it gets approved or not, but pay for play is here, right? Amateurism is dead. College athletes more than ever need their own representation to represent their interests at all of the negotiating tables, because right now, every single school will have or at least the P5 schools will have the ability to share up to $22 million of revenue with their athletes in fall of 2025. How much is going to go to the football team? How much is going to go to the basketball team? How much are going to go to the women's volleyball team and fencing, right? All of those are questions that the school is now answering on behalf of the athletes, but the athletes are adults and smart enough to have their own representation and help guide the school and partner with the school on where that money goes.
Talking to Brandon Copeland here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. So here's a problem that I have. When you're doing, and when I say a problem, I think the athletes should be paid. I used to not, but I've come around to understanding the why behind it, right? And, you know, it's old school thinking, but I get it now. That being said, I don't like what it does to work ethic in some cases based on the transfer portal, based on being 17, 18 years old and maybe making $200,000, $600,000, whatever the money may be, and not having the grind, right? Like sometimes these younger athletes, I feel entitled to their position because they can just leave. So when you're mentoring these athletes, is that any part of the dialogue?
Absolutely. But I think that the reason why the money has come to athletes in this way is because there hasn't been enough people sitting around the table to organize what is the best way to continue to incentivize performance, right? How do you incentivize that in college athletics as opposed to, hey, we're going to give you $200,000 to come here, and then if you get injured or if you don't play well, we're just going to renege on the offer and not pay you your money, right? And so I think that for me, I don't ever want to put any caps on anyone's earnings potential, especially in sports like, you know, especially in athletics, which we know do not last forever, but also in dangerous sports like football. And the problem is there are so many young athletes who are generating money for their schools. There's also athletes who aren't generating money for their schools, and they have their own set of issues. But there's so many athletes who are generating money from their schools, but by the time they leave their school, they walk away with nothing but memories and bumps and bruises to show for it. So I think that to alleviate the potential harm that money at an early age can do to any of us, right? Whether we're athletes or not, I think it takes providing them with support, providing with the real education around money and the real infrastructure that they need, but also doing some of the things that we've created for them. Any athlete in our platform, it's free membership. They get free background checks. They get free contract review by pro bono lawyers. They get mental wellness resources. They get free second medical opinions. Why? Because these are things that the NFLPA provided for me as an athlete to help make sure that I did not get taken advantage of. Now, bad apples are still going to slip through the cracks, but ultimately there just needs to be more support around college athletes as they earn this money, because you can't go backwards. And these athletes have the ability to change their financial lives forever today. We shouldn't limit them from that.
Talking to Brandon Copeland here on TexAgs Radio. So Brandon, what does college athletics look like in 5 years, right? There's many different layers to this. There's the financial piece for the players, the athletes, right? And there's also all this movement and conferences and super leagues and whatnot. So in your mind, what are we looking at in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, simply put, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you will see full revenue sharing happening. You'll see college athletes actually finally being paid. I do think that there will be a super league of some sorts. And the reason being, I think that schools are ultimately looking for ways to continue to grow the revenue. Right. And when they look at the inefficiencies and the amount of money that they're leaving on the table by not potentially organizing the structure of college athletics similar to the pros, they're leaving billions on the table. We're not talking, you know, a few $1,000s or so here, right? We're talking about billions of dollars, right? And I think that by doing this potential super league, it gives you the chance to go out and earn what college athletics or athletics is truly worth, especially college football. But then it also gives you the chance to actually pay those players in a way that allows you to potentially keep the sports alive, the Olympic sports that so many people fear are going to potentially be a casualty as a result of this evolution of college athletics. And so yeah, I do feel you'll see a super league. I do feel you'll see obviously players being paid, and our goal, our hope, and our vision is athletes.org will be the Players Association for college athletes, and they'll have their true representation at all these tables. If you don't, then what we will see is years and years and years and years and years of more and more lawsuits, and athletes from 2012 suing their school for the use of their NIL, athletes from 2025 suing their school for the use of their NIL. And so ultimately what we're what we hope to see is for college athletic leaders to actually start welcoming their athletes to the table, and not in the form of SAC, but in the form of their own true players association.
Last thing for you. I think I understand what you're saying, but just to clarify, do you think in that model, in that world, the transfer portal thing won't be as Wild West as we have it right now? Like, or will it still be like every year you can go?
Yeah, I think if you create that super league, and I think that also when you bring athletes to the table, then you can start to put restrictions on transfer portal. And I use the word restriction lightly because ultimately you need to let athletes agree to those restrictions. There's a lot of college athletes who are like, hey, we don't want you to be able to transfer every single year because it ruins the fabric of our team and our chance of winning, right? But again, instead of it just being the NCAA or the school saying, hey, we're going to restrict these things because it's better for us, no, let's work alongside the athletes to figure out, hey, what are the transfer portal restrictions we should have? Are there different caps that we should be considering when it comes to NIL because it makes the game more competitive, so to speak, right? But again, all of these solutions need to be determined and discussed with the athletes in partnership as opposed to delegating to the athletes the rules in which they play under.
Cope, where can people find your work?
Athletes.org. www.athletes.org. That makes it simple. And then if you ever want to learn about your money, you can go to brandoncopeland.com. I'm also releasing my first book called Your Money Playbook. And so if you ever go to yourmoneyplaybook.com or brandoncopeland.com, you'll be able to find that there.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's do it again at some point, all right?
Sounds like a plan. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Brandon Copeland there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Spitting some truths out there. Appreciate his time. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with an open segment. I think Brian's going to join us for a few minutes at 9:35. I think he misses the microphone. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. This is the Rollo Insurance studio, but we're talking about actual Rollo Insurance, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. And if you haven't thought about your insurance goals, let the folks over there help you. Jackson, Jason, Morgan, Keith, the whole gang. There's a lot of guys that work, or a lot of people, I should say, that work there. They are fantastic. They are super local and super national. What I mean by that is their headquarters is here on Highway 6, right? They've got 53 offices in Texas, and they're all over Dallas, Houston, West Texas, Austin, San Antonio, East Texas, you name it. But they're all over the place, too. You can find them all over the country. They will take care of your homeowner needs. They will take care of your car insurance needs, your farmer, ranchers, and hobby farmer needs, your business owner needs, whatever it may be from an insurance perspective. They want to take care of you by always using their priorities, God, family, and country. The website is rolloinsurance.com. That's rolloinsurance.com. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. That is 888-44-ROLLO, rolloinsurance.com. Do we feel like we learned with Brandon Copeland, Nick? Did you get something out of that?
Yeah, it sounds like I need to go to his course and get my money right.
You know, we're talking about athletes needing financial literacy. I'm 47 years old, and I need help myself. Goodness. Got some bills and, mortgage and rates. And Brandon Copeland can teach me how to make some money. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Have you guys seen who's going to play John Madden in the movie? In John Madden, the movie. Anybody?
No.
Nick, have you?
No, what? Yeah, what movie? There's a John Madden movie?
It's Dave Russell's new biopic movie about John Madden.
Oh. I did
Don't
not see.
Google. I just want you to throw 2 guesses each. Who you think could play it?
Olin Buchanan.
No.
Unpopular. Jack Black.
No.
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you. Well, should I tell you who it is, or should I give you 3 names? You pick who it is.
Yeah, give us 3.
We'll do that.
Okay. Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
You guys know who that is?
Don't know who that is now.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick Nolte.
Think I know who that is?
Okay. Or, I don't know.
Okay, so it's definitely not the third one.
Nick Cage.
It's Nick Cage.
It's Nick Cage. Because I looked at my computer when I did it, right? Is that how you knew?
No, just
Nicolas Cage does not. I don't know. I mean, I know they can do amazing things in Hollywood. I just don't think of Nicolas Cage was supposed to play Superman in the movie a few years back. He's in Face Off, right? Not Fast Times, right? What's that? Valley Girl, right? Some of the Family Man. Like, he is not John Madden. Am I wrong here? You don't even know who Nick Cage is.
I know who Nick Cage is, of course. Are you kidding me?
He stole the Declaration of Independence, of course.
I can't do those movies.
Those are the
National
best
Treasure,
movies.
I know
National Treasure is awesome. I love
I know
adventure.
kids love it. I just couldn't get into
kids.
it. Like my kids love it. How about
adults can like that movie too.
Yeah. I mean, I watch superhero movies. I understand that adults can watch things that like other people think is weird.
I mean, you're 72 and you're obsessed with Batman. I think it's.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's only fair.
But you think by saying that, look, bro, if when you're 72, you look like this, okay? I'm just saying, like, calm down, little buddy.
I hope when I'm 86, I look as good as you.
Yeah, I hope I never look like Estelle Getty. Fake laugh or real laugh?
No, that was real. That was good.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've used that term on you many, many times.
And it hits every time.
So a couple different things I wanted to read real quick before we bring Bronny in here. We're getting close, obviously, to the start of football season and people's opinions. And look, we just had Tony Barnhart on here who thinks that Georgia and Texas are going to play for the national championship. I believe that's how he phrased it. I know they're playing in the regular season. But Greg McElroy and Colin Cowherd did a hit the other day on Greg's show. And Cowherd and Mac have some reasons why they aren't buying or they're hesitant to trust Texas. Talking about Steve Sarkisian, his teams can be a little light on the details. Sometimes I think they play with more passion than smarts. I think sometimes I'm pulling my hair out watching his team play, but I like him. I like his story. He had some personal issues. He's really overcome them. Impossible not to root for him. I like him. I really do. I root for people who have been bullied or have struggled, people who fall off the edge and climb back. So I love his story. But if you tell me I love Texas, but I don't trust Texas, there's a big difference. I fell in love with girls when I was younger, didn't trust them, but I loved them. Okay, so that's what he says. McElroy says, you see what they should be and what they could be when what they are sometimes. A la Alabama game last year, the Texas Tech game at the end of the season. It's like you see what they're capable of, and like, my God, there's no one. This is the most complete team in the sport, but they're going to have to play on a consistent basis with more regularity. And he goes on a little bit more. But I think that can be said about both Oklahoma and Texas because it is big boy football. And hello, A&M, I've said it for a long time. There's a reason we came to the SEC. You put the last few years' teams in other conferences. I know they lost to App State. The 5-7 season was, but I would say last season and 21, they're in the mix to win the Big 12. Would you agree with that, Nick? Or Luke first?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Nick? Yes, David. All right.
Sorry, working on something back here.
You always are. Urban Meyer, along those same lines, okay? He went on with Colin Cowherd. He said, I got educated in the SEC in 2005 when I was at Florida. We played Tennessee in the Swamp, and I looked there, and there was big men. Everybody's going to have to be really good skills. Some teams have to be elite, but everybody's got to have the skill. The difference is that damn defensive line and linebackers, the way they run south in the SEC, the way they take their football. So, and he says there's 10 teams in the SEC, including Texas and OU, that he thinks have a chance to compete for a national title. He didn't say those 8 teams, or 10 teams, excuse me. But if he's saying 10, Luke, can we surmise that he's putting A&M in that mix?
Absolutely, yeah. You would have to think it's the top dogs that everyone's talking about right now with Georgia, Alabama, Texas. You can throw Ole Miss in there, and then there's teams like A&M, Tennessee, that could be in that middle mix. Teams like Mizzou as well, Oklahoma.
Well, Mizzou's, I think they're going to be in the mix because of their schedule. Well, I guess we'll have to see how their injuries in a different defensive scheme all play out, and also some guys to the NFL. We'll hit a break. Broddy's going to have some thoughts on the other side. Let's do a little Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They have a decent selection of commercial vehicles, service body trucks, flatbed trucks, several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They are the place to go when you're looking for business deals, right? The premier dealer for commercial vehicles and all of your small business needs, but also just regular mom and pop Joes and, Flows. How about Joes and Flows? Better than the other way of saying it. Caldwell Country's got a huge inventory to selection to fit most needs. They make long-lasting friendships with all of their customers, and of course, they have the best customer service in town. Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, and free oil changes for life on the purchase of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're just south of big city prices, and they promise to treat their customers like family. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan, to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Ryan Brauninger, the Island Boy, is in studio.
It look like the ocean, don't I?
You do, a little bit like the ocean.
But, underneath I have a good, crisp tan of like a chocolate chip cookie.
You look happy. Like, it's been a while since I've seen you this happy.
Well, I haven't been on radio in a while. I had a week vacation, wonderful vacation. And it was like the perfect time to take it because, the baseball stuff had slowed down, or at least I thought it was. And then, we get one day in St. Thomas and DJ Sanders commits. And I thought it was going to happen that week, but it was still kind of, I was asleep actually because they're way ahead, because so far east. And I was laying in bed when it happened. My phone just started going crazy. My wife goes, "Can you turn that off?" And I finally looked at it and was like, "Oh, I actually need to work for a little bit here."
So what are the Aggies getting with DJ Sanders? I don't know why I said it like that. I don't know. I had the coffee in the back of my throat. DJ Sanders. DJ Sanders.
Look at Richard. He looks like a weirdo.
He's got his baseball shades on. What do you call those? The Randy Macho Man Savage glasses.
By the way, I've been watching a bunch of Randy Macho Man promos.
Why?
Just because they were the best ever.
Yeah, he's the best. Yeah, Randy Poffo. That's what I call him.
Paffa.
That's his real last name.
Oh.
Yeah, Leaping Lanny Poffo was his brother. You remember the genius, Leaping Lanny Poffo?
That was probably before my time. That would have been late 80s. Yeah, so I got into...
And his dad was a famous wrestler, too.
Macho Man, like in the 90s, was kind of more my era.
So, NWO.
Yeah. I was a big NWO guy. I had the shirt.
Yeah.
At one point, I thought when I was in high school that the NWO theme was going to be my walk-up song.
It could still be TexAgs' like music.
It'd be cool. I could do an NWO themed TexAgs. Maybe we have some space to do that. Maybe potentially coming up.
Hey, we're a football show.
How much have you talked? Whoa, why are you slamming?
Because there's going to be a 9-page thread.
Who cares?
Oh my God! You spend 9 minutes and 15 hours on.
I'm going to talk about DJ Sanders in just a second.
Okay, I just don't.
But how much have you teased about like the future of the show? How much are we allowed to talk?
Look,
about
we're going to go live. Okay, that's all I can tell you. We're going to go live.
Okay.
And we're gonna have at some point, it could be in the next month, it could be in the next 10 years, a spacious, up-to-date looking studio.
Okay. Well, and in this up-to-date looking studio, I've heard that Nick Savage is already trying to make apparel rules.
He has mandated.
Yeah.
Whenever this is, in 5 years, 5 days. It's not 5 days. No hats.
We'll see.
That's not going to fly.
Listen, he's got to run that up to the very top of the ladder before I start listening to it. If the guy at the top takes his hat off, then we're going to have to start shaving his head a little bit more.
So you think you should be able to do what the guy at the top does? I just want to make sure that I'm hearing that correctly.
Attitude reflects leadership, Captain.
Okay. So, but you are always here early.
So DJ Sanders is a really good player.
Yeah.
Okay. No, so DJ was the first time I ever saw DJ.
Like right before you left, you were like, if it happens, it's going to happen soon.
Well, that's another thing, too. And I wanted to come on today because you had an open segment, and I wanted to talk about DJ, but I also wanted to talk about I penned an article before I left for vacation about, hey, just be patient with all this stuff. Yep. Regardless of where these kids go, be patient with Elko. He's got a plan. He's organized. And in the end, all that matters is who you sign, right? Roster talent, roster acquisition, talent management, all that kind of stuff. You don't know what that's going to look like until, the summer of next year for next year's football team because the additions, it's a year-long process. We've talked about that a bunch. And I put out that article, and then a lot of people saying, well, this feels like a preemptive warn try to soften the blow of losing some of these big commitments. And I'm going to tell you that regardless of what the national people were saying about DJ Sanders, our sources kind of never wavered. They felt like A&M was in a good spot. It was difficult because there wasn't a lot of people talking around DJ. He's just a quiet kid. They play things very close to the vest. But all of our sources indicated that A&M still had confidence and that if he was going to make a decision before the season, the Aggies were going to be it. And we didn't come off of that despite what all the national people were saying and doing. There's a similar kind of vibe, not the same, but similar kind of vibe with an upcoming Jonah Williams decision. Although I do not feel as confident right now. I think A&M is just in a much better spot than people want to give them credit for with Jonah Williams, much like they were with DJ Sanders. But DJ was the first time I ever went to see him. I drove out to LaGrange to watch Bravion Rogers, and they're playing Belleville. And DJ had just gotten an offer, his first offer, I believe, from Baylor. And I watched this kid just go through warm-ups. So he's stretching, he's doing karaoke, he's doing high knees. And I immediately text Elijah Robinson. I was like, have you seen this kid?
Yeah.
He's 6'3", 300 pounds, and moves around like he's a $185. He's so nimble and light on his feet for a kid that big. Now, there's some raw stuff that he's got to clean up with his technique, but you just don't find athletes, and I mean athletes at this size. His dexterity, his change of direction, his explosiveness, his ability to create power and leverage. This kid's ceiling is as high as anybody in the state in this class. And whereas right now, let's say you put up the A&M defensive lineman on tape right now, right? I think right now Landon Rink is further ahead of DJ Sanders.
Okay.
Because Landon is super technical. He's got real play strength. He's got real weight room strength. He's playing at a 6A level in Greater Houston, so he's just further along in his development than DJ. But where DJ can go is insanely high, and he's got an athletic background. It's in his blood. His older cousin is Emmanuel Sanders, who played receiver at SMU and a great career in the NFL. This is a massive, massive win for Sean Spencer, Tony Girardetti, Jay Bateman, and obviously Mike Elko, because A&M was like kind of – it just feels like it's been kind of Elko's MO. Hey, we're not going to be – he talked about it at SEC Media Days. Not a loud offseason, quiet offseason. And they're kind of doing this quiet thing on the recruiting front right now where a lot of people had them third for DJ Sanders. I never thought that they were third. A lot of people have them third or fourth for Jonah Williams. I certainly don't think that they're third or fourth for Jonah Williams. And he's coming up on a decision date next Saturday. So Elko's it's not as pop and flashy as maybe it was under Jimbo, but man, he's working.
Delivering.
Yeah, and it's not, I don't want to say subdued, but it's just kind of under the surface level of what everybody sees nationally, kind of how they're doing things. And it's made it fun to cover because I'm not knocking anybody nationally because they're all getting intel from somewhere. Mm-hmm. But because of the way Elko operates, it's a little bit harder to pin down how aggressive A&M is being with certain kids and then how it's being received on the other end. So, again, like DJ, massive win. And I wanted to come on the radio and talk about DJ because he's just simply one of my favorite prospects. That night that I went and saw him at LaGrange, unblockable. I mean, just completely wrecked the game. I talked to I got a great relationship with the head coach at Jasper, right? And Jasper played Belleville in the playoffs last year. And going into that game, I was like, what are you going to do for 99? He goes, I have no idea. He's like, I have no idea how we're going to block. He's just a game wrecker. So, like, you can't really game plan for him because he's just going to undo whatever you think, whatever kind of plan you have going in. And so, like, he is a very popular talking point amongst coaches that play against him because, you know, these guys, and the head coach at Jasper was at Manville forever as the offensive coordinator. You think he's seen some players at Manville and in those South Houston districts? And obviously going to a place like Jasper, he's got Keati Armstrong. He knows what next-level talent looks like, and he couldn't stop talking about DJ Sanders. So just a fantastic get. And it's a kid that I'm so much looking forward to seeing how he plays this year, but what does he turn into?
Before we hit a break, you're feeling good, it sounds like, on Jonah Williams.
I'm feeling better than I think the national folks feel about A&M. And, you know, I think A&M has always been a place that if you just got Jonah – if you got him one-on-one, he'd tell you, I've really liked A&M. And I think that has stuck around from the very onset of, you know, when Elko got here and they're really hard pursuit of Jonah. And look, I'm not saying that he's for sure coming. You know, LSU is a player, Texas is a player, Oregon's a player, USC, like everybody in his top five. I just don't see him going that far away from home. So I would probably put Oregon and USC behind the others. But to just dismiss A&M as like a tertiary option after LSU and Texas, who are at the top, I think that's a little premature, and I think A&M's in a better spot than that.
And that's what, a week from tomorrow?
The 24th.
24th?
So it's
a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, a week from tomorrow. Yeah, next Saturday.
Cool. Thank you, Bronny.
Thank you for having me, David.
I appreciate
it's a pleasure to come into the radio and talk with you.
I like when you're happy. I like it.
I'm always happy. I don't think I'm ever in a bad mood.
Sometimes you're mad at me. Sometimes you give off a mad at me vibe.
I don't ever get mad at people, I don't think. I get mad at you whenever you don't finish your reps in the gym.
You've never seen that?
Oh yeah.
No, you've not seen that.
Oh, yeah. I'm a rep counter from afar.
No. Well, then you don't know how many reps I'm doing.
Not to failure.
RPE 8. Okay? You don't want to always go to failure. If you want to make this a scientific conversation, you don't want to go to always.
Renaissance periodization.
Thank you very much. Mike Israetel. Dr. Mike. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around Aggieland next on TexAgs Radio. Do we know what song this is?
No, one that Nick picked, I'm
For sure it's a Nick heavy metal song from 1983. Is that right, Nick?
Hurting my ears.
Well, according to Carson, it's the NWO
that was
theme
it?
song.
I didn't hear it.
Thanks, guys, for coming at me for no reason at all.
No, there's a reason you have a reputation. Typically, when something happens, somebody breaks the law, they go to the guy like, this guy usually jaywalks, is probably him. That's what happens.
Hey, you're looking in the wrong camera, David.
I'm like looking away from you because you're bothering me.
You see that minor little clap back he just had to get in?
Yeah, he did. He was right, though. I was looking at the wrong one. I realized it mid-sentence. I was like, I'm looking at the green light, not the red light, but I'm going to keep going in character. Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. And with that, we have Kay Naegeli.
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction. That was a good one. I'm going to jump right in because I have quite a bit.
Do you still think this is too big?
Yes.
I'm looking at yours.
Can the camera please show David's phone / wallet / everything?
I got a book
in
there.
He keeps his life. Do you have your keys in there?
No.
Your phone is yellow? Why have I never noticed that?
Okay, this is a weird segment. But it's got
You have a yellow phone with a leather phone case.
Yeah.
Only David Nuño. Only David Nuño. I love it.
That sounds like a shot.
No, it's not. It's just only David Nuño.
I just don't like to have things in my pocket.
I have the little one.
Yeah, but
you gotta get the little one.
You don't have like insurance cards and like 100 other cards that you have to have for
I
life.
have like 4 in here.
Yeah,
not
when you get old, you get more.
Okay, so I'll have to get the little book one day.
Yeah, one day.
Okay.
Page 6.
Good
You'll
to
have
know.
your credit cards.
Oh
What
my.
do we have going on in
Let's get into it. So
School
I
starts what,
next Monday. I wouldn't know. Unfortunately, I graduated.
You're old.
I don't want to not go. It feels weird. It's gonna feel weird to not go back to school, especially with people all my age around this office
Still in
are
school.
going to be in school. So now I'm just gonna feel really old. Want to get into some general news. So Trev Alberts and his staff revealed the most recent reports from the George Strait concert and the soccer game that was held at Kyle Field. Just want to give some of those numbers on air. This is quote from Trev Alberts. Says the final net revenue for Texas A&M athletics for those 2 events was a little over $6 million, 2.6 for soccer, and then 3.9 for the king of country music. As we were just talking about country music, that is awesome revenue for David Nuño,
Mr. Country Music.
Mr. Country Music, and George Strait's the king of country music.
I'm his right hand man.
But you didn't go to the concert.
I was out of town.
Okay.
I didn't go to the soccer match either.
Okay.
I was out of town.
So you didn't contribute to either of
No,
those.
I
Okay.
You know me.
We're glad that somehow
You know what they call me?
did.
Free Nuño, right? Like, if it's free, I'm going. If I got to pay, not with 600 people in my family.
That's true. You just, too many kids.
And I hate asking people for like, hey, do you have a hookup? So I just don't go.
Okay, that's valid.
Go ahead.
That's valid. Football, we're just 15 days away from kickoff from Notre Dame. Media will have its last practice availability session tomorrow. And then Mike Elko, coordinators and select players will also speak to the media tomorrow as well. Reminder that school begins August 19th, so traffic is already picking up.
Yes,
it's about to pick up quite a bit now. Last night on Thursday night, soccer, 25th ranked Texas A&M dominated Lamar 5-0. Both Sydney Becerra and Grace Ivy contributed a pair of goals in the shutout win. Now the Aggies will return to action next Wednesday for a regular season home opener at 7 p.m. against Denver. I had a great conversation with Mac this week. She's really excited. And I asked her one thing to expect from Texas A&M soccer this year. She said
goals.
Wins.
Oh, wins and goals.
Wins.
There
And
you go.
yeah, it was awesome. And then a reminder, A&M volleyball will scrimmage this Saturday. And then they were also slated for 4 national broadcasts that you can catch those on our website. One of those being, of course, Texas. And then a reminder, women's basketball head coach Joni Taylor announced a schedule for the 3rd year of Beyond Basketball. That's an organization she started at Georgia. It's a community and networking group empowered by women who strive to develop one another professionally and by mentoring relationships. There's a bunch more information on that on 12thman.com. That's all for me.
Great job, KK. Thank you very much. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we're going to have Billy Liucci in studio. At some point in the 10 o'clock hour, Randy McCown is going to stop by. We'll chit-chat with Randy. Get to your text messages, of course, at 979-693-1150. TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Should have Billy in studio. We're on the phone here momentarily. Callie asked me yesterday about some big weekends in college football, and we went through it. And one of the weekends that I was impressed by was unfortunately a weekend A&M wasn't playing, October 12th. And then I did a read on Yardbarker, and it so happens the October 12th weekend is also one of the most popular wedding dates in 2024. I don't care about the wedding part of it. I just find that interesting after my combo with AT. But a couple of the games that weekend, just so you guys know, you've got number 2 Ohio State versus number 3 Oregon. You got the Red River rivalry, Texas and Oklahoma that day. You have Ole Miss and LSU in Baton Rouge. You have Penn State in Los Angeles taking on USC. Other games, Florida and number 15 Tennessee and number 18 Kansas State at Colorado. I don't really care about Colorado, but just a very good weekend of college football. And apparently one of the most popular wedding dates of the entire 2024 calendar year. So I just find that interesting that those kind of level of games are happening. And, Ohio State, Oregon, who couldn't have thought a year ago when you're planning your wedding that game wasn't going to be happening? Obviously, the Red River rivalry and Ole Miss LSU, which could be at that point top 10 showdown if LSU in that, if they take care of their non-conference early on with USC and UCLA. So those are all interesting games, I believe, for that weekend. Obviously, the first weekend of the college football season, 15 days away. Luke, is that right? 15 days?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you for your hesitation in answering that question and slight smile. So 2 weeks and a day. In 2 weeks from now, at this time, we'll be doing the final countdown with Steve and Seth McKinney. And, of course, we'll have Billy in here. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center and check in with Luke or Lucas, whatever name he wants to go by today. Luke, what do you have?
Thanks for that. I actually have another weekend that I just found that obviously nothing will be able to rival the weekend you just put out. But how about the weekend of October 26th? You've got A&M versus LSU, which hopefully should be a top 20, top 25 matchup. Alabama and Missouri, Kansas and Kansas State, Michigan State, Penn State and Wisconsin. You've got Florida State and Miami, which for right now is a top 20 matchup, but who knows what will happen with both of those teams down the stretch. You've got Utah and Houston, which should be a very important game in the Big 12. And then you've got Oklahoma and Ole Miss, which as of right now is a top 20 matchup as well. So not as deep as that other weekend, but still, I think if you just look at October, that's going to be your best month for football. Outside of rivalry weekend in November, there's going to be a lot of weekends where you just kind of sit down and don't do anything. Like, for example, once A&M plays, I'm not moving. I'm going to sit my butt down on the couch and just watch college football all day.
All right, so we're going to go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Billy Liucci is there, the executive editor and co-owner of TexAgs. Billy, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, David. I'm battling a train.
I mean, that's a dangerous game you're playing right there. Do not ever battle a train. Always let the train go.
That's what they say.
Hey, I have this topic that I wanted to run by you. Well, I'm not going to run by it. I'm going to ask you, and then you can tell me if you hate the topic or not. But when you think of the top, because a lot of times you hate my topics, top 25 rankings, okay? Who do you think lives up to their current ranking? Like, not teams that are going to fall out. Like, who, like, for instance, A&M is number 20, right? Do they end up living up to that ranking when it's all said and done? Or do they go ahead? So, like, if you look at some of these teams, the Miamis of the world, the K-States, the Michigans, the Florida States, you look at the top 25 teams, who at the end of the year will we be like, yeah, you know what? They were about that level of team.
Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the team.
Oh, you want me to just throw you a team? Oh, we can do that. Texas A&M at number 20 when it's all said and done.
I don't have a list in front of me.
All good. I'll start throwing them at you. Let's start off with our team, A&M. So, and I'm just looking at last year's final rankings, okay? Teams at the end of the rankings, right? So I'm talking between, let's say, 17 through 25-ish, right? Tennessee won 9 games at 17. Kansas State won 9 games. Louisville won 10. Clemson won 9 at number 20. All right, so that level of team is what I'm saying. Does A&M live up to that kind of ranking when it's all said and done?
Well, that's a great question because I think I've been living, most of us live in that, I think, realistically 8-4, 9-3 world when you're trying to make a prediction. I do think there's more upside to reach that ceiling, which I think is like a 10-2 type of year. So that's why I've kind of made it no secret that I think they can go out and get 9 this year. I really, this is where my heart's at today with this. I think A&M, if they beat Notre Dame, they win 9. If they beat Notre Dame, they go 9-3. That's what I think. And so I'll say slightly ahead of where they're ranked right now.
I'm on the same page as you on that one. I'm going to give you the team right above A&M, number 19, Miami. Not that I expect you to do a bunch of ACC research, but we do know they have spent a lot of money in the transfer portal. Cam Ward is a very nice quarterback. I think there are some questions in the ACC with Florida State maybe not being as strong. Clemson's got their questions. Does Miami live up to that 19th ranking?
Yeah, I do. I think they finish actually a little higher because of that. Everything you just said.
Okay. Number 16, Oklahoma. Knowing the schedule that they have.
Let me answer the Miami one. You gave my answer, so I'm just like.
I'm sorry. I pulled an LZ. Lance Zierlein's famous for that. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me do it because you're about to talk about OU and the schedule and stuff, and I'm right there with you. I think that that Sooner schedule is going to catch up to them, and I think they're going to be ranked lower than they are because I just, man, it's going to be hard for them to get to 8-4. And at 8-4, they're not going to be ranked there either.
I'm gonna give you another one. The team.
I'm here by the way, but I don't know what's going on. Somebody's unloading a bunch of boxes, and they're in the last parking spot. I don't know what we're getting delivered, but it looks like it's from Enterprise Truck. It's an Enterprise truck rental. Who the hell knows?
Maybe there's some steaks in there.
Could be for our tailgate party. Give me another one.
All right, number 15, Tennessee. Do they live up to that ranking?
Yes, I think they sit around that 9-3 range this year. Which, by the way, it's still, you're going to have Heupel then, 4 years in, if they go 9-3, for all the hype around Heupel and Tennessee, if they went 9-3 this year, that's a nice year. But maybe we can dial down the hype a little bit, but I don't think we will because they've got, they're stacking quarterbacks over there, so the excitement level. But yeah, I think a safe bet would be for them to be up there because they could break through and go 10, or they could go 9-3 and still be in that vicinity.
All right, I'm going to kind of continue to go up that 15 to 10 range because I think there's some interesting teams in this spot. Number 14, Clemson. Do you believe they live up to that kind of ranking?
Yeah, I do. Because somebody in the ACC's got to do it, and I think it's going to be Clemson and Miami.
So Florida State's going to fall out of that number 10 spot in your eyes?
I think Miami's going to be a team that makes a move.
Tend to agree with you there. Number 13, a team.
And I think Cristobal stinks. I just think every squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Number 13 is LSU. I'm not going to give you background. I'll let you take it from there.
13?
Yep.
I think they're a little lower. I think they're 9-3 at best.
At best? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to be bad. I think I could see them drop to 4, but I think they're 9-3.
Here's one with a easier schedule. That's all I'm going to say. Not going to give too much background. But coming off a very nice year, Missouri at 11.
I think they're about right because I think they finished by 10-2.
Maybe one of those to Texas A&M at Caulfield.
I'm walking in here. I don't feel like I'm getting greeted by a freak show. You got Evangelist with this blonde-haired, dark features and mustache. I've got Zane with a Robert Cessna Hawaiian shirt on. All right. I'm coming in.
You want me to hit a break or you want to continue this?
Yeah, hit a break.
All right, we'll hit a break.
Whatever you want.
You know what? It's your show, Billy. I'm just happy to be. All right, we'll play a different game. Right now, we are. Bye. One of our best segments here on TexAgs Radio. Trains. Never mind. Costa Vida time. Go to Costa Vida in South College Station. When you do go there, ask for Holly. She's probably there because I think she's got a bed there. She's always working. She just works hard, right? Holly, Nick, the whole crew over there, they're just always working. But the food is great. Like when you go there, you know that you're going to get yourself great food. I am a big breakfast taco guy, and that's the place to go to get your breakfast tacos. They're delicious. They got good coffee there. They've got it all. And that's just the morning part of their menu. Obviously, the lunch and dinner, this is no lie. I'm not making it up. Yesterday, Christian in the car said, Dad, we haven't had Costa Vida in like a week. Can we get some? Yeah, we can. We can do it. Get your shrimp, quesadillas, your chicken, beef, whatever it may be. They are the place to go when you want fresh Mex where every ingredient matters, done the right way. That's why they're here in town, and that's why everybody at A&M Athletics, they love to go eat at Costa Vida. They are delicious out there, and you should certainly stop by in South College Station and get your grub on. Aggie owned and operated. It is in South College Station. It is Costa Vida. Go check it out. Delicious food done the right way, Costa Vida. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci is in studio. We just went from measuring people in studio to talking about life. Can we, for a moment, just because I think you'd probably want to comment on it, Anaya Smith yesterday. Let's show the highlight if we can. We showed it earlier in the show. His first catch, 2-point conversion to win the game yesterday for those Eagles against the New England Patriots. Love that dude.
Mm-hmm. Are we back on?
I did a whole intro with TexAgs Radio.
No, it was nice for Nice. A game winner. There was about 4 minutes left. Beat the Patriots, Phillies. We always said we feel like he's going to fit in great in Philly.
Yep.
Just that, the way he works. I think his style of play, a receiver like him would be a nice mesh with that pass catching core there in Philly. I think he's going to be one of these rookies that you talk about the rankings, and we said it when he got drafted, but I think he's going to be one of these rookies that they go, wait, when was he drafted again? Who is that guy?
Right.
And people look him up, not just from the Eagles, but around the NFL. I think he makes an impact. He can make it any of several ways. I can't imagine just watching the Aggies practice what Colin Klein would do with a guy like that this year.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways he'd get him the football. It'd be fun to watch. But they'll look to find that weapon out of this group, and
who are the candidates for that?
I still think when Jabri Barber returns, he can be that kind of Swiss Army weapon where you can get him the ball, quite a bit of ways, move him around the formation, things like that. But that would be my primary pick to do that.
Is there?
And you heard me last week. I was saying I wished we'd see some Bussy over there too. Ashton Bethel Roman is a guy who Ashton Bethel Roman I think is going to be really good. I don't know if it's right away, but just his speed and that explosive burst, it's a little bit different. There's a little bit. He looks a little different out there running and moving and running route. He's got to learn and adjust to the college game. So I don't know what his specific timeline's going to, development time frame is going to be. Does he need an off season? Can it be as this season progresses? But he catches my eye out there a little bit with just the suddenness, and I think he can be a guy that could be a real weapon for the Aggies moving forward.
24-24. Brought to you by FBS Appliance, committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online, factorybuilderstores.com. Number 6, Billy, is the offensive lineman, Trey Zune III.
I think he's a huge part of this football team. And I think for 2 things. He's one of the better performers at his position, and he's quietly done that because he played so hurt as a freshman, playing out at tackle. I still, there's part of me that thinks, at this next level, this is a guy that plays a long time at guard or even center. That's not been what he can do here. I just think last couple of years they've been light on tackles, and he's a good tackle. He's a really good college tackle. And just probably one of your smartest guys out there, hardest working. Again, I referenced his freshman year playing through all those injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't make a peep, didn't make a sound. People didn't know how hurt he was until coaches either said it or you heard about it after the season. He's got a great deal of respect in that locker room. He's an Aggie to his core, as we know. Everybody knows. We've talked about it with his family ties to A&M. And the guy's on his way to the NFL, but he's the type of guy that's not even thinking about that today. And I think when you factor in how important a player is to the team right now, that's where you see Trey Zune really move up the list because he's one of the better players, like I said, at his position. Like what he does on the offensive line rates him pretty high up there. And then you factor in how important a piece he is as the veteran on this offensive line. You look across it now, and transfers have playing experience, but I don't count them as veterans amongst this in that room.
Right.
he is the veteran presence in that room. You know, he's the guy that's been here the longest. He's played the most football. And like I said, he's got the respect of that whole room. And, oh, by the way, they don't have a lot of proven depth at tackle. And with him out there, he's kind of the anchor of the group, I think, the anchor of this offensive line.
One of the guys that we spoke to this week, Armaj Reed-Adams, really impressed with the way not only he speaks, but just his kind of demeanor. Mm-hmm. And he's one that you told us we could see in multiple spots there on the offensive line. Let's kind of talk about how the line is starting to evolve and take shape.
It is, but it's not yet. I said a couple weeks ago that's what would be what I'd like to see, is to see a look at 55 out at right tackle. You got to see, is this a better now, I don't think Armaj Reed-Adams is a better tackle than he is guard. And again, I think he's a future NFL guard. But I do think you owe it to your offensive line and your offense and your quest to see what your best offense could look like, to go, okay, is this what tackle's going to look like, or can we make it look better? Like they're doing at every position. Mm-hmm. So then you've seen, and you know, we've been out there and seen Reed-Adams at tackle. And you've seen it on videos they've put out. He's out there. That doesn't mean that's what it's going to look like, but they're checking out their options. So, and I like the idea of that. If he's your best tackle, then leave him out there, and then you've got depth on the inside. You got, you know, Coley, who could be your center if he can beat out Naboo, but you could have him at center. And then let Naboo and Dewberry and even Shanahan battle it out for that other guard spot,
right,
opposite Basantis. But if not, if you're looking at Reed-Adams and you go, it's not enough of an improvement over the guys competing over there in Crownover and Father. It's not enough of an improvement to not have, you know, two NFL bound guards in Basantis and Reed-Adams that are just massive dudes, and what that can mean to your running game. So maybe they go, okay, the gap isn't big enough. But if Reed-Adams is out there and performs, then you could certainly see that being your starting five eventually. So TBD, and that's the thing. People are putting a lot of stock into, somebody put a report out about who started a scrimmage. Well, that person that put that report out puts it out, and then people see a name at a position. They don't realize that, hey, maybe two guys missed a scrimmage at that position. And they're fine, but they're not reporting injuries and stuff. So, okay, well, that guy was at corner with the ones. Well, he might be your fourth best corner. You know, 2 and 3 were out, maybe. Or there's a million things going on. So what I'm going to do, we need to do a luchador soon.
When do you want to do it?
Maybe today.
Okay.
We need to do it ASAP. But when you look at that, the team and the jockeying for position, I can just tell you, I'll give you an example. What people see out there is, I've seen for the last 3 practices, I think it's gone Scooby Williams opposite York, Scooby Williams, DeShields, Sanford. Like, in other words, guys are getting work with the ones, with the twos. They're rotating around, and I think that's especially so on the offensive line.
How are you feeling about that linebacker group that you just talked about?
Good, actually. Actually, very good. I would think that DeShields is a guy that with every day in practice will be improving, because there's an adjustment period there. He didn't go through spring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he didn't go through spring with them. Sanford really looks the part, and he looks comfortable and confident out there. And I'm right there. You're watching Scooby Williams. I'm more and more impressed by him each day. So when I talk about those 3 guys, and we know what you've got in New York, that linebacker position, that has a chance to be kind of, I think, a surprise position. Now,
which was somewhat a question.
Somewhat, with losing Edger and Cooper. Right. You know, you lose an All-American. What I haven't seen and don't know yet is, when a team like Notre Dame or somebody in the SEC or whoever lines up and just runs right at them with power. And it's going to be hard to do with this defensive line.
Yeah.
But when these guys are really challenged physically, I haven't gotten to see that part yet. But they all look good. They look really good physically, like in terms of their size and how athletic they look. And I've said that's what I really like that we're not talking about very much about this defense is if you look at those linebackers, how athletic and rangy they look outside of York, who's a shorter, he's gotten more muscled up. He's a shorter, squattier guy. But rangy and athletic with a guy like York as kind of the quarterback of that group and the field general. But then also on the perimeter, you see guys like Silla, who looks a lot better physically and I think out on the field. Rylan Kennedy. And then the transfer, Cassius Howell. Everybody talks about adding Nick Scorton, and that was one of the biggest ads of the offseason for A&M or for anybody in college football for that matter. He led the Big Ten in sacks. They also added the MAC sack leader in Cassius Howell. So I think the edge pressure, and I think if you go back, one of the things that back in the day was Elko had to deal with was a lack of true edge guys until Clemens developed there at the end. He became really good at getting pressure on the quarterback. He wasn't earlier on. But outside of Tyree Johnson, I don't think they had true edge pressure. You remember he had these big ends like DeMarvin Leal.
Mm-hmm.
Even Bobby Brown played end for a while. Kingsley Keke was an end. They didn't have that twitchy edge stuff to the defense. They didn't even have it in the arsenal as an option. That changes how you cover if you're Elko. Because what you have to do is blitz more, and I think it changed. You're going to see not a different defensive style, but that's going to be one of the big differences I think you see in Mike Elko and his defense this year because he is better and deeper in the secondary. I still don't know if there's an Antonio Johnson back there. Right. I think Jalen Jones was a really good corner. He just couldn't stay healthy long enough to show it. He showed it, but not how good I think he could be and how good he was on certain Saturdays. But as a secondary as a whole, he's got so much more depth. I think he's got so much more to work with, and a lot of that has to do with what they did in the portal. But it's the ability to get to the quarterback without having to throw so many resources at it that I think is going to make this defense, in the way he calls it, just a little bit different and a lot better.
But you do feel more comfortable with the secondary than you did a year ago now, like
a million times. That's why I didn't even say. I think that position is going to be the most improved on the A&M football team. And then my debate is whether it's O-line or linebacker. Linebacker won't. I don't know how it'll necessarily be improved, but the core, the unit. Because here's the thing: if the Aggies would have suffered an injury to York or Cooper last year, they'd have been in a bad way really quick. They got depth now there, and they've got guys that are really competing, for spots. And like I said, they look good. They look really athletic. By the way, I don't know so much was talked about the guys that left in the portal. The more I watch Besantis and Chappelle, and whether Chappelle's one of your two starting corners or your nickel, I think he's out there, and he's out there a ton. I think he's kind of what would you call it, cross training. Those two guys coming back are a big, big deal. And I know they lost Walter Nolan and Evan Stewart, but and those could have been a big deal if they would change their ways. It's interesting because I hear one of them has kind of been a model citizen thus far, and the other one, it's the same old headaches that they were causing at their first stop, and nothing's really changed. We'll see how that progresses in either of those programs. One of them, though, has been pretty model citizen, so it'll be interesting to see how that translates on the field
right.
When the season starts for each of those guys. But outside of that, you know, Fadil Diggs was a good player. Max Johnson was a good player. Jake Johnson
good player.
Would have been a big factor this year. I think Jake might be third on my list. Hell, when you factor in the problem or lack of problems they cause, Jake might be one on the list. But keeping Chase Besantis and Tyreek Chappelle, now they kept a bunch of other people, but those two guys actually went into the portal. And when they came back, it didn't register nearly loud enough on with all these people, the Twitter fingers and the national college football people that just like to talk about when guys leave and they have their little tally of portal exits. They don't make near as big a deal when they come back. It is a big deal for this football team that both those guys are back.
Randy McCown's in the lobby. We'll get to him on the other side. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Olin Buchanan.
All right, TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Quickly, Dion McKinnis just sent me this. For the first time in over a quarter century, Bonfire Cut class will be on campus, in Rudder Auditorium. Classes will be held August 27th and 28th. So that's coming back to campus. TexAgs Radio, we've got Randy McCown in studio. How are you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. It's always good to be here.
Thank you for coming in.
Anytime.
Mac. Randy and I lived right there. Old Jersey and the Shire.
Ayrshire, baby.
Those were the houses. We were right there. I don't think either of those houses is there anymore.
No, ours isn't, for sure.
Ours isn't either.
Thank goodness so. We don't want those walls to talk.
This whole area is being redone. There's like a lot of new duplexes, townhouses coming in.
We should have bought a few back in the day.
No doubt, man. That would have been smart.
Hey, so do you follow what's going on with A&M still? Like, are you still plugged in and seeing what's happening with Coach Elko?
Yeah, for the most part. It's my kids are kind of that age. The oldest is 22, fixing to graduate from Baylor. Then I got two boys that are playing ball. I don't know where they got that idea from. And then the youngest is 16, and so that's just busy stage of life. So as much as we can, we kind of keep in touch. Thank goodness for guys like this guy, because you can just call him and say, man, tell me what's going on, and then you got the straight word,
Yeah.
It's exciting to see what's happening. And of course, part of the joy of getting to come back is just always seeing how it's changing, because it's just, talking about like where we lived and everything else, it's just getting over there while I go, I'm like, man, what are they building now? And so it's awesome to see it just continue to grow.
So who was I talking to? I was talking to Rocky Bernard the other day, and we're talking about old videos. We're about to show one of your videos.
Oh,
okay?
Lord. Okay.
And I tell these kids, Kay and everybody who works here, the video quality back then did not. So play the
it looks like
here we go.
K-State game if you have that ready for us, Nick, because the quality of the video. Here we go. It looks like it was in 1930.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's
crazy.
It looked better back then.
It did. I guess it's kind of one of those things, you don't know how bad it is until you know how bad it is. My kids are the same way. They'll be like, Dad, what's wrong with the TV? Nothing's wrong with the TV.
It's wild. It does. It makes you feel old, because it seems like TV had evolved, but I guess not.
Oh, yeah. Well, funny story real quick, talking about TV and kids. For the longest, my kids thought that we beat Texas in 98.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They played on the
week before.
They played on the Longhorn Network. Yep. We come back, and I always turn it off. I'm serious. So one of the days, I get a call. Ryan comes home.
You going into the end zone, right?
Oh, yeah. See me going in the end zone. That's it. And then next thing, Ryan calls me and says, Dad, he's like, did we lose in 97? Like, yeah.
I never said we did.
Yeah, I didn't lie to you. I just turned it off, Yeah, he went a long time.
They never figured out.
Never figured that out. I think somebody told it at school. He probably got in trouble at school. Like, no, I saw it. We didn't lose. And they're like, look, it's on here.
You hung him out to dry.
Hung him out to dry, man.
What do you remember about that season in particular?
Which one? The 98?
98 year.
98, man. Man, it was crazy. Man, when I think back about that, I tell you, to be honest with you, and it's kind of been a lot of just how, seeing everybody what they've done since then, and man, it was just, everybody talent gets so overrated. We were talented. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to describe that team, like when I look back, like our '96 team that went 6-6 was super talented.
Yeah.
Everybody on that D line, NFL, just super talented.
Lost to Sark in the first game.
Yeah. Matter of fact, sure did.
Right.
How about that? And so, but that 98 team just had a bunch of guys that just, man, they loved one another and they worked their tail off. And, man, they were just like, they were just those lunch pail type guys, which, old heads like us, we go like, man, that's what A&M is. Yeah. And so that's the thing that, you're looking forward to most with the new regime that's come in. Like, man, what are they going to do to kind of get that mentality back? Because, it's funny, we talk with old players, and especially if you look at what Dan's done in the league, it's that same mentality.
Yeah.
The mentality and the principles that played in 98 are playing in Detroit the same way.
You're so right. And Seth and I went up there and saw it firsthand.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You see a guy like Jared Goff, and how that league works. Jared Goff sitting there waiting after every player's gone, waiting on Dan to come out. We were out there waiting too, this little holding area, to come out of the coach's locker room.
Yeah.
How many cajillion-dollar quarterbacks are just going to sit there late at night? It was a night game, and sit there and wait for their coach to come out so they could give them a hug.
Yeah.
And that to me was, you talk about y'all's team. You said we didn't have the most talent, and you didn't.
Yeah.
But you had some really talented guys, but guys like some of y'all really, you got to make those mega talented guys play with the same heart and passion as the guy that's like trying to earn a spot. And
that's right.
That's what y'all, to me, were able to capture.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, and just, you know, I mean, even, of course, where we did it at, it's not there anymore, but I can remember, you know, the core of that team, all of us intentionally working out at the hottest moment of the summers, you know, just trying to seek as much adversity as we could just to continue to just callous that or sharpen or whatever, you know, you want to use, but just continue to just grow that mindset. And that's kind of what we were.
And when you think about some of the guys you played with on that team too, just like the names, like when we talk about Aggie football, that those years, I mean, that those names come up often.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. You know, my daughter, she cheered at Baylor for a couple of years, and I'm looking over there at their stadium, and I'm seeing more conference championships than we got. Mm-hmm. And then you look back and you're like, man, it's been since '98 since a conference championship. But then you look back and you think, all right, man, you know, what's different? And it was just, you know, whether it was the Dans or the Dats or the Randys or the Seths or the Riches or, you know, those guys that they were just those ones, you know. I mean, even guys like, you know, Coach Clark, which how crazy is that he's in Detroit with Dan. And but man, I mean, the model works, and it works in corporate America, it works in college football, it works in high school football, it works. And so, but you got to get people to buy into it. And so when you do, man, and then you get that chemistry like we had. I mean, because there was a lot of games that year that were close. I mean, the Missouri game, we fumble a punt, get it, score.
I was going to ask you that Kansas game.
Yeah.
Like, because you lose the opener at Florida State, and if you lose that Kansas game, nobody ever even thinks about A&M. Because it was like a fourth quarter comeback, and we weren't picked to win the Big 12. Mm-mm. So you lose to Kansas, and everybody goes, okay, and we were right on that prediction.
Yep.
And get through that one, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you know, they think, oh, that was a great team, and it was a good team. I mean, the crazy thing about it is that if we beat Texas and win K-State, we might play for the national championship game. Yeah. And so it was just kind of, but that was us. You know, we're going to get in there and blow somebody out. We're just going to grind you into the ground, and we're not going to give up. And we're just going to keep fighting, and that's what we're about.
Later on, we're going to talk off air about the bonfire game, but just talk about that final fourth quarter and everything going through your mind there.
Oh man, it was wild. You know, the things I remember about that game, I remember there was kind of a weird calm to it, you know, because we didn't play that great the first half. But man, it was never, you know, sometimes you go into halftime and you have this sense of like, man, we got a half left. You know, we got to get it together. And there never really was that. And then just that whole dynamic of how that thing just kind of went and developed. And then, you know, I mean, I can vividly remember like that snap. And, you know, I was leaving Bumgardner a message this morning because he's supposed to come to Jacksonville this weekend. I said, you know, look left and there's Taylor, look right and there's Bum. And then you just throw it up. And then to have like the last pass I threw in that stadium was that pass. Mm-hmm. You know, you know, it's kind of one of those things like, you wish you'd got drafted or you wish, And that was you know, how many kids get to say
in the background.
Yeah. But, that was it. You know, the last pass that I threw in that stadium was to beat them to my roommate, and it was for a touchdown.
I was going to ask you, what did that mean, throwing that to Bum? But I think most people don't understand how close y'all are.
Oh, man.
For that to be forever, like just etched in the minds of Aggies.
Yeah, and this is going to sound like this is kind of made up, but I promise you it's not. I mean, there was no telling because we roomed together, shared a room a lot of times, and you know, as anytime when you're the receiver, you're rooming with the quarterback, you're going to pitch your case anytime you can, man, just throw it up. And man, I can remember, man, that is as weird as this sounds, I can remember that voice going like, man, just throw it up. And I was like, okay. And so, and if you look at that pass, that wasn't a dime.
No,
that was just like
faith in your receiver.
Yeah, that wasn't like today they do the back shoulder and it looks like, wow, you know, I was just like, let's throw it up.
When you threw it up, what was your advantage? It looked like you could see it the whole way, or did those linemen get in the way? Like as the QB, you let that ball go. What are you watching there?
Oh man,
when did you feel like he's got it?
Well, you know, the way he caught it, you saw the way he caught it. That wasn't clean either. That was more like it just you know. And so, but man, it was just like when he caught it, you just kind of go, you know, and I can remember the other part about that was that Josh was playing for SMU at the time. So you always had SMU and TCU playing at the same time, and they played that night. And I can remember getting there to the house and watching like the first half of that game and literally just passing out because it was just like it had all just kind of just, yeah. And so that was just wild, man, because he was like, man, he caught it and then we held on and then, you know, then everything else that went afterwards, you know, kind of wild.
Speaking of Jay Brooks, I went out to Atlanta for SEC Media Days a few years ago, and
Is he still a cop?
Yeah, and we went to dinner with him and all his cop buddies, and you know, he had told them about me, how long we've been friends, and he told them all. And he goes to the bathroom, and we're sitting there just having drinks, and they go, "What? You know, was Jay any good?" I was like, "He was really good. Like Jay, like he was a special teams like god. Right. If you look at the amount of kicks he blocked." And they were like, "I go, they didn't know about that play.
Really?
He's never told them." And I ruined it for him while he was in the bathroom. I was like, "Are y'all serious?" I go, "This play," and they all knew the bonfire game. They all knew about it, and they all knew Gamble. You know, they did not know. Those are his best friends, and you know, he never told them that he made that play. So he comes out of the bathroom just a brand new man for his guys.
Man, yeah. The reason I knew that I ran across him in Atlanta, I was at a Braves game, walking and I hear somebody say "RMAC." Of course, I mean, it's just one thing to get, you know, the RMAC call here, but Atlanta, you're like, what the hell? Yeah. And there comes Jay Brooks all copped up. Man, I was like, what are you doing? You know,
he's doing good. He got promotion.
He's coming in soon too.
Are you going to a break?
Yeah, well, let's hit a break. We'll come back with more Randy McCown here in studios, TexAgs Radio. It's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave. Serving Aggieland since 1984, they have your favorite pizza and, of course, your favorite world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. So you guys are going to kind of reminisce on some old stories. Where did you want to go with this?
Well, no, I was just saying, since we have only a couple minutes and you guys are going to really dive into the storytelling of A&M, Texas, and all that. One thing I was going to say, first of all, is there a most memorable game for you that is kind of off that radar from that season or even the next one? You know, not Texas, the Big 12 title win. You're sitting there, you know, probably coaching that one. Is there another one that stands out?
Man, you know, I mean, obviously the Nebraska game that year was pretty big, you know, and it's crazy because, you know, quarterbacks, they always get way too much credit, whether good or bad. And, you know, I probably shouldn't say this because it's going to incriminate, but, you know, you go and you look at that game and people come up to me, man, that was an awesome game. And if you looked at my stats, they were horrible. I mean, like beyond horrible.
Well, how many passes did you even throw? Yeah, I was about to say, you didn't throw.
Yeah. And so, of course, I guess one of them was funny story about that.
He comes in here a lot.
Oh, man,
he's on with him all the time.
Oh, man. Yeah, you had to ask him about that. Funny story. So that game, man, I guess everybody was looking the other way or fell down or caught a cramp or something. And I had to run for about 35 yards and get there. And of course, I get up, and of course, you know, one of the things that probably maybe folks liked about me was that I just kind of wore it on my sleeve. So I'm doing this after it, and I don't know if you remember Coach Dorr, God rest his soul. He and Coach Craig Thorpe.
I was going to ask you about Coach Dorr.
Coach Dorr, he was always just, man, to the T. You know, when he was writing letters to me, he'd like use a ruler for a straight edge, just that guy. And so, man, I couldn't wait to watch film because I'm like, heck yeah, man, we're gonna watch this one. And so I thought he'd run it back, runs it through one time, rewinds it more about me celebrating. He's got the little red dot on me. He's like, and look at this freaking guy. He's like, we ought to get a 15-yard penalty. He's up there waving his hands like a chicken, you know. And I'm like, Coach.
You
like,
see what people do now.
Yeah, man. I'm like, we just had a great play, and I'm trying to get the crowd into it. And that was probably the longest run I think I've ever had. And so I was, but he's like, look at this guy, like freaking individual, you know. But
hey, we got about a minute left. So just to kind of summarize where we are with Aggie football, you're excited about seeing kind of our old school way of doing things, you know, blue collar, not flashy, just going about our business.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Of course, you know, I guess that's the way I was kind of wired. But to be honest with you, that's what made that '98 team good. You know, I mean, I think obviously there was Dat, and he did his thing, but even the way he did it, man, it wasn't. Hey, look at me. He wasn't the center of attention. It was more like, man, we're just one unit working together. We're gonna grind you into the ground about how we work. You're gonna have to take our breath for us to quit coming because we're not gonna give up. And then just when you get that kind of surge of just chemistry and love of one another, man, that's when you do great things. And so haven't had a chance to meet the new coaching staff or any like that, but if I could give anybody a word about like what the old guys think Texas needs, A&M needs to be, that's what we're about. That's what A&M's always been about, you know. And
in
so
every sport.
In every sport,
Really,
and so getting back to that, that's what this place is built on. That's what it's about. And if we do that, man, good things will happen. Because, man, there's no greater resource than Texas A&M in terms of, like, what do we need to do? There's no greater resource. So we just got to get that surge going and then hold on.
Randy, thank you so much. We've got something cool coming up. Not going to release it just yet, but it's coming soon. Thank you very much, Billy. Appreciate you. We have 7 seconds. Okay, go ahead. Keep rolling. No. Hey, and keep his mic on, please.
Okay.
YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
All right, now we didn't get to it. 2 things. I want to get your thoughts. One serious, and then we're gonna have fun with one. First, you mentioned Coach Cragthorpe.
Yeah.
You know, it was really devastating to see that news this week. I know for me, I always just thought the world of him. And I think I really, after we played LSU a few years ago, we went and had, it was, I think, Bum and I.
Yeah.
And Were you there at that? I think it was me and Bum.
Yeah.
Went and had breakfast with him before we left Baton Rouge. And I'm like sitting there going, man, that was the last time.
Yeah.
And I think I saw him at Kyle Field the following year. But, I mean, that was the last time we sat down and talked. And I remember just going, even then, like, man, I'm just so glad I got to sit down and talk to him. That's not knowing any of this, but just you saw on Twitter, social media, Facebook, everybody pouring out their thoughts. What are your thoughts on Coach Craigthorpe, what he meant to you?
Man, when I think about him, man, he was – and it's interesting because you look back on these things and at the time, you don't realize, like, there's not that much of an age difference.
Yeah.
Like, when he was here, I don't think he might have been 10 years older than us, which, you know and so he was just – man, he was really fun to be around. He was a great coach because, I mean, he cared about you. And he held you accountable. And then, you know, because he started out as a receivers coach here, you know, and of course, if you talk to CT or Cole, or the Gorillas, you know, so they'd shorten it to the Rillas, you know, and I can just hear Coach Craigthorpe going, Gorillas, you know, and of course, it was kind of the old white guy, or not old, but, you know, whatever, saying Gorillas, you know, he was trying to be cool, but he was cool, you know, and so there was that. And then when he became the coordinator and just, you know, he was just a really good coach. And then even, like I was texting another guy the other day, I said he was a great coach, but an even better person. And you know, like how 20 years ago or whatever, 20 years from when we were around him, he's meeting y'all up for breakfast. You know, I know there's certain situations that man, he's came in on, and he didn't have to, and he just comes to help because I mean, I'm sure not just with the examples we know, but I'm sure there's tons of examples where he's just helping former players because when you're done, he still cares about you. You know.
No doubt.
You had one more thing you wanted to
say? I was speaking of caring about people. You mentioned Dan and the Lions and how they play, and we talked about going up there and seeing that. But what's one of your favorite DC stories? Because I know we've all got about 1,000 each.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to filter through them.
You do. Yeah, and
know,
you also
you're
have to, like, there's some you can't.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could tell we could tell, you know, I say something about you say something about me, I was like, okay. But, like, now that he's, like, the head coach of the like, okay, we got to hold on. Let's see, you know.
We got to water him down.
we got to filter this. But man, you know, it's just, there's not really anyone in particular, man, from whether it was old Betsy, you know, the white truck, you know, or just, man, whether it was the first time that he decided to get the tattoo, you know, man, I can remember getting so fired up in the weight room, and he was going for a squat record one time, and I think he got it, and he like took 2 steps, and after he got it, and he just fell over, you know, like literally just passed out.
Does that at Gold's Gym still.
Without shoes on.
Oh, you go that hard, huh?
No, I don't.
I was going to say, man, I was like, dang.
Olin did that one day, but I don't think.
I think
no.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the story for public.
There's only me and squats haven't happened in a long time.
Yeah,
you know, but yeah, man, not really anything in particular. I mean, of course, the other thing too, man, there ain't a better storyteller than Dan. No. You know, and man, I guess probably the best thing is like when you know, if he starts telling stories about Steve.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
here's the deal: you're holding back. He would not hold back on you, on me, on anybody. He had I won't even say who it was. He had people, the freshmen on the team, convinced that one of our buddies who was an older guy on the team had killed like 3 people, and just regularly told the story to the freshmen like in such a way like, yeah, you know, he went out there and, you know, he got away with it because they were, you know, and these guys are so scared of this older dude, and he knows who it is. And finally, our friend had to go up to him. He's like, dude, like, quit telling people that. You know, like, what are you doing? Oh, no, you know.
Oh, man.
But my favorite was at y'all's house. If we'd be, like, getting ready to go out, we'd all be playing college football, which I'm sure your sons are into now as much as you'll let them. I can see you being that dad that's like, get off those games.
I was just going to say, full disclosure, I've actually snuck in. I've got a season going right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Bum comes up there, y'all going to play?
Well, maybe.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Christian still brings Tecmo Bowl when he comes in town.
Hey, Bo Jackson, Lawrence Taylor, and then Mel Gray, the kickoff returner.
That's right.
Lions, yeah.
Get you some of that.
Well, Bo and LT are banned. Giants no, Bo's not. The Giants and Bills are banned from the game. They're too good, and so you don't use them. But Dan would play that game, and he was good, but he wasn't in the upper echelon.
Sure, yeah.
If he lost, you'd have to play him again.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Don't get up. Run it, set it up, and we'd play again. So we'd all have this thing, and I don't know if Dan even is aware of this, but we would kind of look like, hey, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Go hit the tap.
Yeah, they're going to close.
And somebody would end up having to throw the game to Dan.
Oh yeah, just give him the wink and oh man, I can't believe it. Yeah, I thought I was going to try to run on 3rd and 25. That's why I was thinking of running the draw, and he's like, "Yeah, we stopped you."
Yeah. Then he'd talk trash.
Yeah,
and that's a Dan.
I've never met Dan.
Really?
Gotta get him in studio. He's a little busy though.
You talk about a bit. He knows this. He coaches the guy that squatted enough weight until he passed out to get a record is the same guy that's trying to win a Super Bowl, a division, a game, a snap.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, he's
at the Detroit Lions, by the way.
Tireless, man.
Yeah. And the same guy, I mean, busy, obviously, busy as you can be, but then, I don't look at it and go like, man, he's not the same guy. He's the same guy.
Oh, yeah. Same. And he was always going to be, but I knew, this is the guy that lived in the trailer park right up here trying to decide if he was going to coach, and just drove down here in his fifth wheel and was working with Coach Sherman during the spring for free and living in his fifth wheel right here at the park. And then, it's there's a million examples of what you could say like that. But when he got that job at Miami as an interim, and you're that coach that can get Ndamukong Suh to be sitting there doing Oklahoma drills in practice, and that's Dan. That's why he's and that's what you're talking about with A&M football.
Yeah,
y'all had a team full of guys like that.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember. I can remember getting on the bus after the Sugar Bowl because we that year he and I roomed together. And so remember getting on the bus after the game, and we're talking. Of course, it was emotional because it was over, And I remember telling him, I was like, man, and he was like, all right, man, it's, because I was, in '98, I was like, you'd say the seniors, I was a junior, so they were kind of like the, we were the others, going with, and then and of course then, in '98 I was going to be a senior. I can remember telling him, I was like, man, I hope I can get the guys to listen to me like they do you, because and that was, and of course that was. I don't know if anybody could do that, but that's just what he did, man.
All right, we got to drop it there. We got to do another interview that you'll see on TexAgs.com here in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Randy. All right, we'll see you guys on Monday.